Welcome back to USA Summer Online 2020. My name is Phaeton, and we are raising money for All Summer Fountain. Links to donate can be found below the stream. We'd also like to thank Kaspersky, Twitch, and ViewSonic for sponsoring this event. Without further ado, it's time for RJsmangit smashing the game Parasite Eve with Palmer as a commentator. So, take it away.
Thank you so much. How's everybody doing? Good evening, good morning. I'm running Parasite Eve, obviously. So might as well just get right into this because we got a couple cutscenes right off the bat. So timer is going to start when I hit new game here. So we'll do 3 count on go. So if you're ready, 3, 2, 1, go. And like I said, we're going to go right into a cutscene right away because every great speed game starts with a cutscene. And this one's just giving us a little overview of the world. We're in a snowy New York City. I think it's Christmas Eve on the first day. And we got the Statue of Liberty that kind of looks like it's crying. It's probably not foreshadowing. I wouldn't think too much about it. But we're gonna see some people walking around town. It's like trying to set the mood, like happy Christmas time. But eventually we will zoom in on our first location, Carnegie Hall, and we'll get to meet our main character.
Yeah, fun fact, the Statue of Liberty was actually brown when it was created, and it slowly turned green over the past 30 years.
That's a good fact right off the bat. So the first thing, we're going to have a little bit of dialogue here, and we'll get to name our character, which was just given to me that the name is going to be Ayayaya, or Ayaya. So we'll put that in. But this is our blind date, Mr. Nameless Man. I is already distressed about it. Where? And right. All right, we're now Ayaya for the rest of the run. And the first thing we're going to get control here, the first thing we're going to do after this dialogue is unequip the gun we have equipped. And I'll explain that a little bit in a second. Because all great speed games start with a cutscene, but truly great ones go right into an even longer cutscene right after it. So we have a little bit of time here. But the reason we unequip the gun right away is because the club club has a faster ATB. It helps us conserve ammo for upcoming days. So it has virtually the same damage output. But we actually get to watch the play that they came to see. And it's pretty great. The dialogue's pretty funny. This guy's very eccentric.
Yeah, man, I can't stress enough how many times the people who speedrun Parasite Eve are going to watch this movie in their life. Hundreds of times potentially. You see this scene every single run.
Yeah, but at least it's worth it. It's truly something to behold once it really gets going. Actually, yeah, some might even say that it's pretty fire.
Yeah, well, I didn't sign up for all of this, so... this is the scene. Because you got to remember this game came out in, I believe, in late '98 in Japan, and it came in right in between Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII. So this is Final Fantasy VII was the game before this. This is a significant, shift forward, like graphically, scene-wise. They call the game the cinematic RPG. Just comparatively, you see just leaps and bounds of quality improvement from the previous game just a year earlier.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that it's just a year apart. But here's where the scene really starts to kind of go off the rails. Melissa Pierce here, she's the actress, has her little solo, but she's going to lock eyes with Aya, and then you'll see. Or Ayaya.
Yeah, I don't even know how you're supposed to say that. It's just it's like the cat stepped on the keyboard or something.
It's not too far off how we generally name her. We usually just mash A until we hit start, and she usually Aya with a combination of A's after it. So it's not too bad. Pretty normal. This guy doesn't know what's going on. The lady from Shark Tank next to him's just as confused.
Yeah, it's like I feel like over the years I've developed a bond with each and every person that's in this theater.
My favorite guy's the bellhop in the scene that just went by. There's like a random bellhop still trying to like guide people out of the bottom. Like what a legend. Everyone's on fire and he's like, single orderly line, please.
Yeah, it's just that I don't know, man. It's already hard enough to like want to go to the opera, you know.
And then you have the opportunity to be lit on fire while you're there.
Now you gotta worry about like the potential of danger.
But for some reason, our blind date didn't get burned, so we shove him out of the way, and we're heading right to the stage for our first encounter with Eve.
Yeah, I remember the first time I ever played this game, I saw that scene, and I was like, wow, this is nuts. And then, you know, you just don't expect it, and it's definitely like it has that like Resident Evil effect on you when you're a kid and you experience it for the first time, and it frightens you. You'd be like, geez, this is nuts.
So this fight's pretty simple. We're just gonna punch her until it's over. But one thing, we had a pretty good starting ATB, so we'll actually be able to dodge her attacks completely. If we had less... Sorry, I'm just trying to pay attention. If we had a smaller start with the ATB, we would probably tank that first hit. So not too bad. As soon as she's about to fire, there's like a circle that comes around her hand. And that's when you move either direction. But there you go. We just beat Eve. The game's over. That's all it took. But no, after she makes contact with Melissa/Eve, we're still in like limbo on who this is supposed to be in the order of the game, but she basically unlocks her parasite powers. That's what that little orange sparkle was during the fight. But one thing you'll notice with this game, sorry to cut you off, is
you're good.
On most of these screens, you'll notice that we're already running before the screen's loaded. And that's kind of like a big movement tech of this game, is the ability to move on not every screen, but a lot of screens we can start moving early. And with all those screens that add up throughout the course of the run, it actually ends up saving a fair amount of time if you know what's coming and you're already moving.
Yeah, screen memorization is like one of the first ways for you to like significantly save time over the duration of your run. Just knowing what screen's coming next, so you can already be holding the direction moving forward. Because most of the directions in this game are pretty simplistic. It's, you know, you move forward, left, right, back. They're pretty linear in most cases. There's not like a whole lot of free movement opportunity. Part of that is because you don't have analog sticks. This game was developed right as analog technology was coming out, and they'd already finished the game. So what they did was they just kind of patched it on the back side of it, so that you can turn on analog, but if you use it, you lose access to the D-pad. So they created you can use one or the other. And unfortunately, for movement and most menuing, because the game was made with D-pad in mind, I think that's how most people prefer to run it. I don't know. Have you ever used analog? I've never even attempted to.
No, I always use the D-pad. It just makes way more sense on the screens. Oh, look at that. So that was like the perfect rat fight. It ran right to us and we one-shotted it. Usually it'll take 2 hits. God, I hope that's not the only good luck I have. We're wasting it all early.
Downhill from here, boys.
So we make a little detour in here. We grab a key we need. Just run right back out. We don't need anything else in here. We run into this room and we're going to read Melissa's journal. I believe that's what this is, if I actually click it. And a fun fact about this journal, throughout the game, there's like a capped mashing speed through most of the scenes, but in this particular journal entry, I don't think there is one, if I'm correct about that. Yeah, so we can actually mash as fast as I can.
clamp sequences. Yeah, you can mash faster than like 4 inputs a second or something like that. And I like how she like leaves a key in her book. It's like, this is where that's usually where I keep most of my keys. It's like a bookmark.
It's not even like her house key. It's a key to this rehearsal room.
Yeah. First of all, why does she have that, right? She's just like a singer. So she's not a janitor. I don't understand the need for her to have access to like every door in this building.
But as you can see, Melissa's going full Eve now. And I think this is the first time that it actually refers to itself as Eve. But basically, this fight's not too crazy. We're just going to try to follow Eve around the screen and punch her with the club again. Okay, that's a bad start. Oh, I got it. Oh, that's lame. So we'll show it off, but I'm trying to bait out this laser attack, because if you're standing in the middle, you can dodge it literally every time. I guessed wrong. I'm gonna miss, yeah.
Yeah, she has a bad habit of it. Like, if you're too close to her, she's gonna, if you stay too close to her for too long, like when she readies up an attack, she'll opt to swing at you. And if it criticals and does max damage, it does 27 damage. So you can really only afford to get hit by it once. Another interesting thing that you might not notice in this fight specifically, but you'll want to keep an eye on, is what's called contact damage. In Parasite Eve, anytime you get too close to an enemy, you step into their hitbox, you'll like bounce back with a quarter-second worth of hit stun, and you'll take like a small amount of damage. I think it's like 10% of your total HP, or something like that. It's really not a whole lot. However, it can, if it bumps into you at a bad time, push you off of reload animations or make you miss melee attacks and stuff like that.
As you just saw in that fight, I missed a couple times, but that wasn't that bad of a fight. I got some bumps on her. If you bump into her, you're basically gonna miss if she's in that middle movement pattern. We're gonna drop down another hole right into the sewers, because that makes sense. I'm actually going to heal before this first fight, just to be safe. Because sometimes we have a fight here with 3 rats, and sometimes they can be quite a pain, so I'm just not even going to deal with it. See, like that. You want them to kind of just stay where they are. So they actually kind of ran back, which is pretty good. But at this point, we can one-shot all rats. So they're not much of an issue. Say 2 more rats, but we got a frog this time.
Yeah, this frog fight can be pretty annoying. His hitbox is like a little bit detached from his body. And whenever his tongue shoots out of his mouth, it will always have a bigger hitbox to the frog's right side. So you always want to dodge to the frog's left because it's got a disjointed hitbox, and even if you think you're out of the way, it'll still hit you sometimes, which is kind of the story of this whole game. Because the backgrounds are pre-rendered, like they're pre-drawn, there's a lot of like map obstacles and enemies and stuff like that their hitboxes are a little deceptive sometimes. You can get stuck on stuff or hit by stuff you're clearly out of the way of, and over time you kind of get used to minimizing that risk.
And while I'm gathering all this stuff, do you want to kind of explain what I'm doing and then the frog skip that's coming up? That's weird. I don't think I took any damage in that rat fight or the frog fight. That's like not normal for me. But anyway, we're about to do a skip here, hopefully. Nice, we got it.
Yeah, there you go.
So if you run in, like, I gotta remember to actually save. I muscle memory this one all the time and just run in.
Yeah, for marathons, believe it or not, this is actually one of the riskier fights. I never saved before here, and I always think back and I'm like, that's like the one fight you have no security whatsoever if it goes wrong.
Yeah, because especially if you one of the alligator, it's a fight with an alligator, and one of its attacks, which we kind of want to see, is the shockwave tail attack, where it shoots out a bunch of projectiles, but you can get like double tapped by it, which is weird. So it does like 45 damage if it does that. So it's almost like a GG if it happens. So I always like to save here, but muscle memory is a pain sometimes, and I just kind of go right through it.
Yeah, so everybody enjoy these scenes. If you've never seen the game, they are truly one of a kind. So I hope that hopefully you're enjoying, what's on the screen right here, because sometimes it's even hard for me to explain what's taking place.
Yeah, Eve's using her goo to make a monster. In layman's terms. I don't know, but because Eve's like, you know what? I'm done with you. You've hit me with a club way too many times on this day. Here's a minion. Deal with it.
And the luxury we have of this game, like any improper science at any point that you want to explain away, you just say, yeah, this is related to mitochondria, and that's it. That's really all you need. That's a stalwart defense.
It really is. Like, the whole basis of this game is revolving around some hokey science thing called the mitochondrial Eve, which we will probably talk about a little later. So the one thing we're going to do first, we're going to shoot the tail here. We don't want to see critical hits, contrary to most fights in like every game. Oh, well, there's one. Oh, there's two. So it's already scuffed a little bit, but that's okay. Because basically, I don't know why it happens, but it messes up the bullet cycle for the next segment of the fight. So we'll have to do reload animations during this part. But do you know why it does like 2 really quickly?
Yeah, so what happens is when it crits, it just pushes you over like the damage threshold and makes up for 1 bullet. So you end up only firing 2 on the last one. One way around it is if you know that you've fired 2 crits up until that point, you can shoot once at the head and then 2 at the tail to maintain your reload position. It happens so infrequently, and it's such a minimal time difference that it's really sometimes it's a risk, because if you fire another crit, you can throw yourself off even further, especially if you've only hit 1 and you're like, out of the next 3, do I think I'm gonna hit a crit? Because I can risk it and shoot him in the head. And you shoot him in the head and he gets like all irritated, chases you down, a bunch of stuff.
But yeah, that actually went really well besides the crits. But it was something that was weird there. He went to melee me. I only shot 2 bullets and he didn't hit me. It was a very strange sequence.
Yeah, that was sweet. Yeah, I think you phased him right as he did it. Didn't finish his animation, and you moving on. That was actually super clean day 1. Even with the save and whatnot, it's a pretty good time. And now we get introduced to personally my favorite character in the game, Daniel, Aya's police partner. He is he's a little rough around the edges. He's got a lot of personal business going on, but he drives absolutely ridiculously fast. And,
yeah, look at this.
He's all reliable.
And he has the world's best plot armor, as we'll see in various situations throughout the run. This man is like LL Cool J in all of his movies.
He's got an awesome suit. He stays, he stays looking fresh. He's just got a really rough go of things a lot of the times, and it always comes through. So he's really just like one of the best characters ever.
Yeah, it's funny too. He's like one of the only people who is consistently believing Aya right from the jump. Like, he's on her side the entire time, which I think is like a cool dynamic for those 2 characters. There's like no doubts between them, which is like a common trope in like buddy cop things.
He's like the guy, like if you get yourself into some trouble, he's the friend you go to and you say, listen, man, I got something to tell you. And he's like, all right, where are we burying it? That kind of guy.
Exactly. Yeah, so that was the end of day 1. Aya is like already reminiscing a little bit in that dialogue there. And we'll start day 2 in the NYPD. Get to listen to these people talk about basically what everybody's doing right now is figuring out how they're gonna not incite like public panic about what happened. So the police chief Baker, who we're gonna meet right now, is telling Aya that during the news conference she shouldn't say anything. But first, we're gonna actually make a slight trip into the armory.
Yeah, if you got time for some donations, I had some.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. I'm just gonna grab like backup armor here and run in for some dialogue. So absolutely.
Sure, we got a $10 anonymous donation, a $5 donation from Mishi11 saying "Go RJsmangit," and a $5 donation from Delta38 saying 69 bits. He'll know.
Yeah, thank you so much. Those two of those donations were a close personal friend and actually my girlfriend. So I appreciate that from all of the people donating. Means a lot. So here we meet Wayne and Torres. They're kind of like the odd couple of the game. So they don't use the buddy cop dynamic for Aya and Daniel, but they definitely use it for these two because Torres, the guy with the ponytail who's behind the counter, is in charge of this whole armory, but he hates guns, and Wayne is the total opposite. He loves guns. I'm sure Torres has a long life in this game. Wouldn't worry about him for a second.
Yeah, typically you can imagine anybody with a strong anti-gun beliefs who works in the police gun shop. That's typically like, setting the stage plot-wise. They're both two lovable dudes. They give you these things called mod permits, which will allow you can use them to modify your weapons. However, we do a very specific gun route. So we actually don't use any of the mod permits. We just either throw them away or store them or what have you, just because they're like mildly inconvenient. And inventory in this game as a resource is very, very survival horror-ish. It's very limited. You're meant to kind of pick and choose what ammo, gear, weapons you bring with you everywhere, and until you start leveling up and gaining more inventory spaces, it can be pretty tight. You can be fighting to figure out what you want to keep and what you want to drop. So anything optional we don't need, we absolutely get rid of.
Yeah, so like Baker, when we were in the office, just gave us a mod permit. We immediately moved it into storage. And we'll get another one from Baker in like 10 minutes that we're going to discard immediately. But this is Daniel's son, Ben, the world's fastest child. Look at him go. How will we ever catch him? Also wearing shorts in the wintertime. Everybody knows a person like that. Well, we got a little bit of traversing to do here still. We're going to run back into the office. Talk to Baker some more as he continues his plot to try and cover up this whole incident.
Yeah, it's really so the way that this game is kind of laid out and arranged, I guess is a better way to say it, is that you play through day one, which is a very short section, with really no tutorial, no explanation, you just kind of, you're thrown to the wolves more or less. And then right after, this is really the section where they explain, backstory, plot, some of the mechanics, guns, all that kind of stuff. So up until this point, you've played the game with no tutorial, and this section is kind of like your stand-in tutorial. And there happens to be, like, at the end of every day, the start of the next new day is typically filled with, some kind of plot or, moving around the map or what have you. I think the only one that's not is, well, I guess they all are, actually. Yeah, and I think that you end and start somewhere new every time so that they can catch you up on the story so far, usually with a scene or a wall of text. Day two specifically has so much text, which is why it stinks to have to reset like halfway into a run, because you just got to wear your hands out mashing all this business all over again.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Day three has tons of mashing in the beginning. Day 4 doesn't have a bunch. You have to run to Meta, but it's like short dialogue.
It is really short.
But now, so a little bit of the story we kind of missed there. In the press conference, one of the reporters, Baker was trying to do all the talking and not let Aya talk to anybody. So the reporter's like, I'm trying to ask Aya here. And Aya tells him the truth. And then Baker gets super mad about it. But and then they come to the conclusion that, they're talking about the events that happened, and Eve and mitochondria like they do, and they decide that they're going to go talk to this doctor in the museum. So we're headed towards the museum to speak with this scientist doctor. He's oh so lovable.
Yeah, this guy is the worst, basically. Anytime you see him, you just gotta mash a ton. Like, he always comes with long mashing sections. He's just the worst. So anytime you see him, you just, over time as a speedrunner of this game, you just develop like this sense of just absolute dread and a little bit of hatred, I would say, even towards this character, just because his face makes me angry, and it's synonymous with, you know, prolonged periods of just wearing your hand out.
That's exactly it. You'll see it too. Like, they also, one good thing about this game is, as far as the writing is concerned, is it's very like blunt and to the point, where it almost seems a little ridiculous, but as you like read and think about it, it's kind of like how real conversations would actually be held. So they don't hold any punches with this guy, this scientist here. He's kind of just a jerk and does not care about it. They make us sign in first. There's 4 people in the building, but we better sign in.
Yeah, I always thought that was funny. Like, it's the police, you know? We're going to say, no, we don't need to sign in.
So here we go. We meet the doctor. One thing to watch there is when you're actually running up to that door, if you stay too close to the wall that like lines the stairs, you can actually miss the trigger to come into this room. And continuing in the theme of this game of just terrible hitboxes. This is Clamp, Dr. Clamp. And he just obviously is a real winner. Very helpful man.
You can't trust anybody who's willing to use a computer that has that kind of flickering issue, right?
The refresh rate is insane on that computer.
And I just don't understand what he's doing over there. He's typing up a storm, but whatever's on his computer is remaining unchanged. So I have to imagine he's like not doing anything productive. Second of all, he just turns around. He's like, "Who's here? Oh, it's you guys. The people I called like 10 minutes ago." Yeah, dude. How many people you get walking in here?
So we tell him kind of what happens, and this is where he explains what like the mitochondrial Eve is. And Lord help me if I'm going to explain it correctly, but the basics of it is that there's a point in time where the mitochondria that want to be passed along and evolve will do that, and the ones that don't just die off. It's like a concept in a larger hokey science concept called selfish gene theory, which is a nut jobby kind of thing. But we'll talk about that a little more later too when we meet our like basically our last character that matters to the plot of the story even a little bit.
Yeah, and it's important to know that the game is based on a novel that was turned into a movie. Which you can watch online for free in the same resolution as this beautiful game here. Nice crisp 240p. But a lot of the science that they implemented into this and all the explanations and theories and whatnot, those are actual talking points and like story triggers and what have you in the novel as well as the movie. So the Square basically had most of their plot already written. They just had to come up with some likable characters and some action. But yeah, if you are interested, check out one of those if you're a big Parasite Eve fan, the movie or the book. And it's very different, so you might have a laugh. But I think a true fan, it's worth taking a look at least for a little bit.
Yeah, I read a synopsis of the story, and it is nothing... Like, the concepts are similar between these two, but the story is nowhere near the same as, like, what kind of happens here. There's like a loose basis that like one of the women in the story could be Aya's mother or something, and that's like the major connection point between the two. But it's like hazy at best. Yeah,
up until this point for sure. Like even as the story progresses, I'm like, oh yeah, I mean that's believable. But it's fun to see like if you watch that movie or read that book. Just kind of like where the intersecting points are, because it almost gives you one of those, oh, okay, like you like an aha moment as you realize just where they borrowed what, and what makes sense, and it happens in one as well as the other.
So now we're off to Central Park. We got that whole little meeting in the conference room. The actress Melissa Pierce is supposed to have a performance in Central Park, but obviously Melissa Pierce is no more, so we're concerned about it. And that's where we're going to head. Because also, Ben, Daniel's son, and his ex-wife Lorraine are here, so that's why Daniel rushed off in kind of like a huff. He's worried. I think mainly for his son. He has some choice things to say about his ex-wife throughout these earlier stages. But we got a little bit more mashing, and then we actually get to play the game.
Yeah, that's why, like, if you get into this, this area is one of the, more difficult, longer sections of the game, combat and, movement and such wise. So as you can imagine, getting to this point and having to reset everything you guys just witnessed, having to do it all over again, it's like 80% not even playing. It's just text and stuff. So, over the course of like a long day of, trying to put runs together, that can be, that can be really a pain in the wrist.
So we're going to start. Day 2 is pretty interesting because it's one of the days that's, besides day 1, it's the only other day that's almost completely linear in the fights that we end up taking. I'm going to grab that. I was kind of hoping that would be medicine, but it was ammo. So no big deal. I was just trying to grab it for safety. I'm going to wait for a little snake here. As soon as they kind of like, there's a point where they're both moving together and they'll both stop at the same time. That's like a good trigger to shoot the little snake coming in because he's coming in hot.
Yeah, and the snakes are a real inconvenience because they can poison you, at least the big one can. And when it poisons you, your poison wears off at the end of fights. So this fight specifically wouldn't be too difficult because it doesn't drag on very long. But that poison, it does a lot of DOT. Like even at this level, it does like a big chunk of your health. I think it's like 4 every 3 seconds or something. And it gets really, really scary because you can only take turns as fast as your ATB loads. So snakes can do some sneaky damage. They're one of the more risky random encounters, quote-unquote random encounters. And these birds that RJ is fighting here, they're kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. Their annoyance is unreal, but their risk and threat is quite low.
Yeah, if you just kind of wait until they get to you and tap in any direction away, you can avoid their attacks every time. Except in like there's a fight with some of them later that with 4 of them at the same time on a very large screen that's really obnoxious. But most of the time they're not too big of a burden.
Yeah, and they want to drop junk all the time, which is really, really aggravating if you aren't, if you accidentally over menu or something and you pick up junk. So junk in a speedrun sense is something that we don't care about at all. It's something that is, when you're casually playing through the game, you can collect like 300 junk and turn it in for like really good weapons. But we will be trying to avoid it the best we can because A, we don't have the time, B, we don't have the inventory. So to us, junk is, exactly what it says it is, just junk.
So starting ATB wasn't great, but it's actually not too bad. We'll get hit by one of the crows here, but he actually knocked me out of the contact damage from the crow knocked me out of it. Of his regular attack, so I only took 2 damage. These are monkeys, by the way, if you were confused, but they're kind of annoying. That arm attack is pretty easy to avoid, but sometimes they just get like a full head of steam and come to beat you up, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, fortunately, most of the attacks of the enemy, at least, pretty much throughout the entirety of the game, are pretty telegraphed. They have a couple of attacks that they do. So in this situation there, if you stand a certain way and move a certain way, you can typically give yourself the best opportunity to dodge quite frequently.
So we got another fight here. 2 crows and a snake. We're going to try and get rid of the snake first. We always want to get rid of the most the most burdensome enemies first. I don't know what that other bird was doing. They were both coming to attack, and the other bird's just like, nah, dude, I'm out. Yeah, so you see, you wait until he gets up to you, it stops, and then you just kind of run away.
Yeah, you do like a little stutter step thing almost, and they'll kind of just whiff at you. There's some fights where like if the birds both attack you at the same time, they can like put you in a little stun lock, and it becomes a real annoyance to have to deal with them. On top of that, they have the strong likelihood of dropping junk, so it just birds specifically can just really slow you down if just a couple of things don't go the right way.
Yeah, and you'll notice in the one fight I actually took the junk from him and immediately got rid of it. I'm playing with my TV at a very low volume, so I use the sound cues a lot in menuing, so I just kind of botched that a little bit, but I got rid of the stuff right away because we really can't afford to be carrying anything like that.
Yeah, at this point we just don't have a very good inventory at all, but yeah, this scene right here is actually one of my favorites. I think it's the scene that probably bothers people the most, or at least like people that come in and chat and stuff oftentimes refer to this one as one of the more grotesque or extreme, but it's pretty cool. She's just out here live performance, and everybody ends up having a really rough go of things.
And you have to think, like, this is 1998. These cutscenes still hold up pretty well today. So what I understand is happening here is Eve can control people's mitochondria to combust, or she could just make the cells leave people's bodies, and that's kind of what's happening now.
Yeah, and that's the reason that people catch flames and stuff like that. She can basically summon and provoke the energy of mitochondria in people's cells. Energy creates heat. People burst into flames, or they melt into this gelatinous goo. We will actually see this gelatinous goo a little bit later on, but I really got a feel for like whoever is the parked janitor who just has to go there the next day and be like, what in the world is going on, dude? And they have to clean all of that up.
Yeah, just show up. Geez, what happened here? Thought this was a concert. Also, like what? I'm assuming she already had most of the people under their control by time she was visible to them. But like, if I saw that, I would be out. I would not be there watching that show if I was expecting an actress and a floating scorpion lady showed up.
Yeah, especially if they were like, hey, we just heard that this lady's opera yesterday on the news, everybody caught into flames and died. And they're like, I can't wait to see her show tomorrow. Like, I don't understand. I'd be like, disaster that just took place, maybe I'm just not gonna take place in the follow-up performance.
So we made a little detour there, if you notice, to grab a revive. It is for safety, but we actually grab that every time in the run anyway, because the boss at the end of this day is quite a pain. So even if we weren't doing the marathon here, I would be grabbing that revive.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more infamous bosses in the game. One that people remember a lot. And it's really not even like the last boss of the day kind of thing,
Yeah, that's true. But it's definitely one of the most pain. This boss at the end of the day here is probably the first like real gatekeeper of the whole run. But we got a little ways to go first. So I mentioned the fight with four crows on a very big screen. That's this fight. And you'll notice they move a lot faster on this screen than they do in
Yeah, another issue that you have here is that the screen, like the depth perception on these pre-rendered backgrounds, can sometimes be like really off. So you think that like you're in range to hit something, and it's actually just a bit further than it looks. Especially like there's no place that you can stand in the middle in this screen and be able to hit them no matter where you're standing. So even if you stand in the middle and one of them goes all the way right or all the way left, you'll miss. So you kind of have to pick and move and kind of adjust to what their movement patterns are and such like that. And another thing that I don't think we mentioned is you'll notice RJ is ending these fights as close to the screen he's going to advance to next. That way that once combat is over, he can just load the next screen. Sometimes that's easy to miss, and its importance can be understated because you don't have to run as far afterwards.
Yeah, it's kind of the same concept of moving before the screen's loaded. All right, so we'll get a shot off here, I think, before. Hopefully we can dodge the attack. Bummer.
Yeah, this polar bear, I just don't understand. First of all, like, I don't, what do they have those at the zoo? I don't know. I've never seen a polar bear at the zoo. But,
I'm pretty sure polar bears at the zoo are pretty common, but...
Dude, secondly, like, why Eve, she has this ability to, like, create monsters or whatever, give people powers. But why does the polar bear get to fire lightning? Like, it just doesn't seem very polar. But the snakes, the polar bear is actually one of the best enemies in the whole Central Park because sometimes he can be very agreeable. Sometimes he just doesn't even bother and you defeat him before he even looks your direction. It's really favorable.
Oh, there we go. Good timing. So a crit and a normal shot will kill these monkeys. Come on, crit. You bum. You bum. I guess he's not going to do anything. I'm okay with it.
I was just saying, the polar bear, sometimes in this game, they just do that. They just skip their turn, and you're left there like you don't want to shoot at them because you're like, I know as soon as I do, you're going to attack me. And they just don't. And
Dude, we got the YOLO tool.
Oh, how about that?
Dude, I've gotten that like 4 times out of the last 6 runs I've done. That's insane. So that chest is either going to be a tool like we just got or a defense. And it's almost a defense most of the time. But that tool will save us a little time in day 3 and 4. Start off this fight killing the most annoying enemy. What are they doing? They're not attacking.
Yeah,
wow, that was nice. I don't think I took any damage.
Really makes you second guess things, though. You know, you're like, you don't want to commit because you feel like you're gonna get punished as soon as you do.
Yeah, that's why I waited a little bit there. I was like, they're definitely gonna come, and then they just never did. So the next fight we have is the Worms boss, and I'm gonna save just in case. I'm gonna go. If you want to try and explain it while I'm doing it, I'm probably not gonna go for 121, even if I have the opportunity.
Yeah. So this Worms fight, there's a lot going on under the hood. Right off the bat,
if I wanted to.
That there's 4 worms that pop up in various spots in this little map here. Now, all 4 of the worms have the ability to either melee attack you or throw these little balls of spikes that will hit you at range. And they start off small. Well, you'll notice that as RJ kills one, the remaining ones alive will grow not only in size, but also in total HP. So the strategy, in simple terms, is we want to kill as many of them as we can before they go back underground to then come back up higher HP values and larger. And the way that we do that is we kill 2 of them, and then we have the 2 remaining pop up right next to each other, and we split the bullets one way and one another. Now, the 121 that RJ just mentioned here is actually a strategy that allows you to kill 3 of them on a single turn. But the timing for that is like really, really insanely tight. You have to reload animation at a specific point just to be able to nail the timing. So any small mistake and the strategy is just out the window. Sometimes you don't get good enough ATB or the enemies will attack you. So it happens very, very, very rarely. But the strategy that he's opted to do here is much more consistent. And if 3 of the worms die and there's only 1 left, a super giant worm appears at the bottom of the screen, and he does some melee attacks at you that hurt really bad. So we're gonna try our best and not have to see that guy appear.
So I shot the left one twice by accident. It's not a big deal. We'll be all right.
Yeah, you can. And sometimes even if you do everything correctly, splitting the shots, some get crit more. Like one worm will eat a lot more crits than the other, and the damage can be off even there. So sometimes, at no fault of your own, you can end up seeing the big single worm. Fortunately, when you do this strategy, he's usually a shot or 2 from dying as soon as he appears, so it's not that scary.
We could get both of them on this next turn.
And there you go. That's nice. That's about as clean as you can ask for a traditional strategy.
Yeah, I would take that fight like honestly every run I had if I could.
Yeah, and they've dropped 4 defenses as well.
Yeah, so we're gonna be a beefy Aya. I'm not gonna save. We'll just play this safe. There's a YOLO way to play this next coming fight with Eve, and there's a safe way to play it, and we're just gonna try and play it safe. Although we do have our revive still.
Yeah. Yeah, as he kind of does this next fight, I'll explain the differences in strategy here. But I think first we really need to appreciate, like, take mental note that this horse has caught flame at, how far are we into the run? What's the time? About 44:25, right? On the timer. I want you guys to pay close attention to how long this horse is just running through New York City on fire. You really like the guy and his endurance.
Also, I would like to note that this card is moving incredibly fast, and Eve is just floating above it without, like, losing any ground to it. Like, the physics there is insane.
So here in this fight, you're going to see Eve, as RJ just showed, she flies up into the air. And when she does that, it's slower animation-wise, but she'll do an attack that's much easier to dodge, as you're seeing him just move to the opposite side of the cart. Now, what we can do is if we stand directly in front of her, we can bait her into doing a melee attack. Now, it happens a lot faster, but it's very difficult to dodge. And sometimes it can roll like 70 damage a hit. So if you do try to make her melee more frequently, the risk is definitely higher in exchange for, it taking less time. But in a marathon like this, I think the way RJ has opted to do it here is probably the most reasonable way.
Yeah, I mean, it makes the fight, like, almost trivial if you do it the safe way. It's, like, almost no way you can die. Sometimes she control you, though. Like, almost all the time she'll try to attack you where you're standing when she flies up, but occasionally she'll just do it to the corner that you're planning on running towards. But yeah, and the attack does hit hard, and it lingers. So, like, if you start moving back after it hit, you can still get hit by it.
Still there, even though there's nothing on the screen. So you really gotta, like, play it a little safe sometimes.
Yeah, but I try in my runs to make her melee me, and I can't. Sometimes she just won't do it. The fight honestly makes no sense as what triggers her to do which attack, because I've tried so hard to get all melees, and she just, like, won't do it.
So here we go at 46:14. The horse is now finally stopped running. So almost a good 2 minutes of this horse just running through the park on fire. It's a very impressive feat. I definitely wouldn't run anywhere on fire for 2 straight minutes. I think that's understated.
Yeah, we really got to appreciate the pure athlete that horse is.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, poor dude. He got a rough go of things, but right here in the scene, you're gonna notice that Daniel's son is actually okay. Little Ben shows up, and it turns out that Ben excused himself to go use the restroom at the exact moment that everybody decided to get melted. He actually dodged it, believe it or not. Now, unfortunately, Daniel's ex-wife was not so lucky. She will not be making an appearance in this game. But thankfully, Ben, in all of his really red shorts glory, we'll be seeing him. He's a persistent character, and he has a little plot that he actually affects himself. So he's. We're all super stoked to see him.
Yeah, I personally, every time Ben's on the screen, get a real kick out of it. I don't know. There's just something about him, his squirreliness that gives me cheer.
He just cracked me up, man. He's got like that, like a Hugh Hefner jacket sweater combo thing going on, and they just let that kid run around in Christmas. It's like there's snow outside, and he's in like sneakers and shorts.
But there's just some kind of Daniel's gonna leave him in charge with the officers here. There's a lot of mashing coming up here, so if there is any donations that have happened so far and you would like to read them off, this would be a pretty good time.
I'd actually announced that we hit the incentive for the revenge for Taurus.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
And remember, everyone who donates, and we really appreciate your donations. There are bid wars and incentives, for example, the Batman Arkham City run, the costume choice. Right now, there's $55 for the 1970s Batman and $50 for the Batman Beyond. So if you want to change the costume, go ahead and donate.
Yeah, super stoked we get to show off like an enemy variant and like a neat little cutscene that kind of furthers the plot. I guess you could all draw your own conclusions on the fact that it's called Revenge for Torres, but that'll actually be in this day coming up once we get going. But super appreciate it, guys. All the donations coming in. Now we need to try and get some of those other donations. There's a lot of cool ones coming up for the runs after mine and for the rest of the week. So take a look at that page if you're considering donating. Pick something that you think is cool and make it happen for these runners and for the whole event. But while we were reading donations there, just to back up to the plot, they came to the conclusion that they're going to evacuate the whole city. And that was that cutscene. Now we get to meet our final, basically plot-involved character, Maeda here. He's a Japanese scientist who's trying to get into the city. And these cops are kind of being jerks about it. They don't really want to let him in, but fortunately, unfortunately, that guy gets lit on fire and Maeda has an opportunity to sneak in. The other cops are just like, oh my god, what do we do? Just letting him roll around there. Just get a blanket or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I like... He's like, hey, will you guys watch my kid for a little bit? And she's like, yeah, I got you. And then she immediately takes him to be looked over by the police dog. Like, she's like, yeah, trust me, the most reliable and loyal person we have in this. And apparently, like, their canine budget is really little because there's like 3 kennels and only one of them is even utilized. So, there is there's something to be said that, Shiva is left with very little companions, unfortunately.
Yeah, what is there only like... There's only like 2 dogs in the game that you could see. There's one at the warehouse. And then Shiva.
Yeah.
This scene cracks me up. I love this scene. What is going on here? It's an absolute mess.
I really feel like it just captures, like, New York City apartment, like, to the T, You gotta imagine this apartment costs $2,600 a month. It's got this trash can fire and like this giant air vent, and then Maeda. I don't know. It's just you just gotta take it all in. It's truly something.
Like, I don't get why there's a trash can fire. Like, clearly there's electricity. The TV's flickering because it has the same refresh rate as the computer in Clamp's office, and. Like, so, and they just evacuated like a few hours ago, so it's not like it would be in like a post-apocalyptic Fallout world. I think it wouldn't be that cold where we needed a trash can fire for a night.
And you've got to imagine like the fumes coming off of that fire would like really do some damage to you guys. Like, you can't just keep something like that indoors,
Nah, look how big that vent is above the bed. That'll suck anything out.
Maybe that's why it was made. They're like, we'll explain the trash can fire with this huge vent, very obviously. That was the remedy, I guess.
I mean, it makes total sense to me. Other than that, this is just a completely random apartment. This isn't even like Maeda's apartment or anything.
Yeah. They just busted in here, I guess. There's like 40 bottles everywhere.
Squatter rights.
I don't understand what's going on here. It's funny that that people in Japan were like, this is what a New York studio apartment in America looks like. You know what I mean? And it cracks me up, man. It's one of my favorite scenes in video games.
Honestly, I think they nailed it. I've been in a couple, and it's really not too far off. I haven't seen any trash can fires, but I've seen the rest of this. But we're approaching the end of day 2. Sadly, after all of that cart, we do all of that mashing just to get to the end of the day. It's like 6 minutes worth of mashing. But Aya's just going to take a nap in this apartment. Recharge the batteries. So not too bad. That was a pretty decent day 2, just even for doing marathon stuff. But we're in Soho right now. That's where this apartment is. And we're going to do some item gathering and dialogue mashing here. And then we'll have the hardest boss of the day before we trying to leave this place.
Yeah, this actually is one of, like, I sometimes sit just in bewilderment at how janky these few... There's only, like, 5 screens in this whole zone. and they managed to screw like each one of them up with like crazy hitboxes that aren't anything like what the surroundings look like. But as far as like artistic wise, this is one of my favorite areas. I really like, you know, the streets and the look. You'll notice it's one of the only times that we're outside during the day. You know, so there's a lot of things to take in. The pre-rendered background is really, really cool. Unfortunately, the light poles and the fire hydrants and stuff like that don't really line up with the hitboxes that indicate them. So
you'll notice, just keep this in mind for right now. On this screen, to get to the door, I ran straight down. Just remember that when we leave. Because it doesn't work the same way. But I hear Daniel channeling his inner James McAvoy and bending a bullet around so we could get into the gun shop. Which is cool, because we're going to do some collection for our next upgrade.
How hard he goes, dude. He didn't even opt to like kick the glass or whatever. He just straight fired a gun at it. And right past his partner, dude. He's like super confident in his ability as a marksman to just Angelina Jolie that bad boy right around.
Oh man, what a scene! And from like point blank. And I'm gonna do a menu here. This one. Actually, I could do all of them.
Do we have a short time for a quick donation?
Absolutely.
We got a really amazing $300 donation from D.
Whoa!
Saying love Parasite Eve and loving this run. Keep up the great work. Donations go to the Dark Souls 3 incentives. D-Lost, thank you so much for your really, really amazing donation.
Holy
And
moly,
with
glad
that,
you're enjoying that run.
You cracked the $9,000 mark.
Whew! Dude, let's see if we can get to 10,000 before the end of this run. I know we could do it.
Amazing.
I know we could do it. But wow, crazy donation. Thank you so much. So we're going to make a stop in the pharmacy. Normally when we come in here, we would just leave right away, but I'm going to actually grab a second revive because now we're going to be super safe.
Yeah, it's you would think that a gun store would have better security than just being able to, you know, fire a gun at it to enter it. It seems a little, you know, like a contradiction. But you're gonna notice here that he picked up that second revive. His movement was good, and then he nailed
it.
One of the hardest things in the whole game, which is to enter that car door.
But unfortunately, we went back to Soho. My bad, so I got to run all the way back up. But anyway,
give you he wanted to give you the second look at it.
Yeah, I gotta do it again now, and I'm gonna screw it up. Oh god! Ah, we got it.
He nailed it, dude. 2 times. He was not phased by having nailed it once. It wasn't good enough. For the first time ever in a marathon, the double car door, 100% success rate.
What a flex! Oh my god.
Yeah, for some reason, like, if you accidentally go too close to the back door, he'll be like, "No, you ride in the front," and you're like, "Okay." So you take a few steps forward, and you can't interact with it. You actually have to physically move yourself back away from the car, and then come at the car at an angle to hit the correct door handle. And I'm like, man, why is this such an ordeal?
Just let me talk to the door and get in it.
Yeah, why is the back door even an option? Like, if you're just gonna say, "Hey, you can't get in back there," then why does it have a hitbox? What good has that done?
It's just annoying. But there's a space between both hitboxes where you could just run into the car and not get in either door. It's pretty cool. So hitting that twice, it's a lot harder than it looks. We're not joking.
Yeah,
so getting it twice is pretty good.
It's funny because I like to just thank, like, you know, Maida and Daniel, who are just standing there watching you run, like, just missing this car door. They're just watching you like run your face into the side of this vehicle, and they're like, what are you doing? Like, this is the chosen one, by the way.
I just can't get in a door.
Yeah, I just
borderline superhero can't open a front door.
Yeah, it's an interesting design choice, but it's not the only one. There's a handful of those gems scattered out through the rest of the game where it's like, come on, man. And the one issue though that we have with door triggers is sometimes you can hit a door that requires you to hit it at a certain angle, and you think, okay, I guess that door is locked, or I can't go in there, right? So it can actually lead you to be confused casually and think that you're going the wrong way when In actuality, you just didn't enter it correctly. So if somebody attempted to get in that front door and didn't do it, they'd be like, okay, I guess maybe I'm supposed to be going somewhere else. It's a little bit clunky, but it's part of the beauty of the game. 1998. What can you say? Pre-rendered backgrounds were big in the PlayStation era, and rightfully so. They look great, but they can be a little bit of a pain.
So that little cutscene we just watched, we were looking at a sample, I think it was like a liver sample from Melissa Pierce. And you can see there's some funky stuff going on with her DNA. And then we're gonna do the same thing with Aya, but just in a couple of seconds. And this is the whole long scene where Maida is explaining selfish gene theory, whatever the heck that means. And it ties into what I was saying about the mitochondrial Eve earlier, about how only the cells that want to be passed along will get passed along. It's almost like Darwinism at the gene level. Very crazy stuff. I suggest looking it up and trying to decipher exactly what it's talking about on your own. It's a wormhole.
I think there's two pretty important things to notice here as well, is that the computer screen is still flashing, still on the same screen, so no progress was made on whatever project that was.
And science is hard.
The second thing is like this scope right here that they're using, this science lab microscope, is like showing stuff at like an atomic level. Like this is all the way down to like the atom. It's really impressive.
That's why his paper's taking so long. He's getting so much detail from all of his equipment. He doesn't know what to write. I mean, look at that thing. It's massive.
Yeah, and through those cutscenes, basically what they were showing was that one was a blood sample from Maida, where his genes were overrun by the enemy, the other blood sample of Eve mitochondria, and then there was a sample of Aya's, and it very clearly, repelled it. So it might be hard to gather sometimes from what those scenes actually show you, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah, and so I don't even know if that's explained yet, so I'm not gonna go there. We'll get there eventually. But now Clamp's back, and we have the opportunity to do a funny little like text skip called Clamp Skip. When Daniel goes and looks at the computer, it's coming up. We have an opportunity to basically mash through the dialogue before Clamp even shows up. And I think it saves like a second or something like that. But it's also cursed. I'm convinced it's cursed, so we'll see if we get it or not. And obviously, since Clamp's here, we're still mashing for days. It's dialogue after dialogue.
I'm telling you, man, anytime he shows up, you just gotta expect to mash. You just gotta mash. And what happens here is Daniel will take a peep at the screen, and even though we clearly saw that it was a picture of some kind of molecular structure, he's going to say, "Does that say my family's names on it?" And Clamp will rush over and turn it off. Oh, but we won't.
Did it!
Because RJ got the cursed Clamp skip.
Oh, dude, I knew this run was going too well.
Yeah, it saves a second because you don't have to watch Clamp's animation of him run and turn off the monitor. But there is something to be said for it. It's some bad juju sometimes. But we'll just have to see how this run shakes out now as a result.
We're going to get the Shiva 2-tap coming up here. He's going to half my health and then melee me to death.
That would be a bummer.
We'll save for sure before Shiva. The day 3 boss is basically a coin flip whether you live or not, as far as I'm concerned. But here we are, back to the police station. They get a radio that some stuff's going down.
Once again, driving the speed of light. Now you know that there's no traffic because they've evacuated the city. And apparently New York is just one straight line. Everywhere they go requires no turns whatsoever. So they just gun it from place to place. They arrive back at the NYPD, and it's pretty disheveled looking. Things are tossed around. It looks like, someone's been here. And basically, this is actually the first opportunity in the game where we're going to see one of the largest speedrun mechanics, or at least one that's talked about the most frequently, and that is the random quote-unquote encounters. And the way that it works in this game is that anytime there's this encounter on a screen, you're gonna get it. It's fixed. It's gonna happen 100% of the time. Now, anytime you traverse that screen a second, a third, and any additional time, that encounter rate is gonna drop by half. So on a screen that you're about to see RJ run through a screen and force a fight. Now, once he re-enters that screen later, he has a 50% chance of taking that fight. If he were to traverse it again, it would drop to 25, so on and so on. For two reasons, that's a big deal. One, in speedruns, it's a big deal because taking a lot of extra fights is slow. Casually, it's a big deal because it limits your ability to be able to grind. Like, if you just wanted to grind really high and just mow everything down, you would try to, run through the screen a bunch of times taking encounters. But eventually, that encounter rate will drop to a minimum, like 12% or something, and you could be there all day trying to get EXP.
So now that we're back in the armory, Torres, unfortunately, was attacked. He's not going to make it, but don't worry. Y'all made it possible for us to avenge him. He will have his day in just a little bit. But he is dead, so as soon as we met him, he's gone. And do a short little menu here. We got a charm. Meta likes to give you these charms throughout the run that are completely nonsensical, at least at this point. And we're just going to get rid of the first one he gave me.
Yeah, I'd like to think that they have some kind of purpose, but in the speedrun, they really don't. One of the big issues is that we can't actually throw them away, so we have to use the opportunity to store them. There's a couple later on that we just have to carry with us just because we don't have an opportunity to get rid of them. So again, min-maxing your inventory can end up being a very big deal, especially once medicines become a very prominent part of the run, which will be pretty soon. And I don't know, did you pick up the CM vest? Or I guess I can explain it now since you're about to put the new one on. But the vest that RJ here is going to... Well, let's see if he gets the... Oh, you did skip the fight night.
Yeah, we skipped it already. So cool.
So RJ is going to put on this vest. And what it does is anytime you fall below like a percentage HP threshold, I want to say it's like 25, 30%, somewhere around there. It will use whatever your strongest medicine is from your inventory to automatically heal you. And it's good for two reasons. Obviously, one, you die less. It heals for you if you have the items. And another is that it thins your inventory out so that it kind of works as a way for you to manage your inventory without you ever having to stop and menu. So it's super, super helpful. It's one of the more handy things in the game. So it's really nice functionality, as well as we can sometimes manipulate the contact damage that you've heard us talk about before. And we can manipulate that by bumping into an enemy to drop us below that threshold so that our vest will then heal us up. So it opens the door to a lot of really neat little strategies.
Yeah, it's basically like, it's the basis of everything, all of our approaches to the boss fights for the rest of the game. Or it makes it so we don't really have to think about them. Nice, we skipped both fights. Look at that.
Oh, nice. 0 for 2 out of the NYPD fights. That's perfect RNG. Now, it is worth mentioning that in the end of the game, we want to be a certain level. So it actually is not ideal to take 0 of the repeat encounters, as we call them. You actually want to take a very specific amount. Whatever it will give you the most EXP in the least amount of fights. Now, typically that means it's the more worthwhile fights are going to be in the end of the game. But so if we take 1 or 2, it's not the end of the world. We're not bummed out. As long as once we get to the end, everything falls in line EXP-wise, that's really best case. But some fights definitely take longer than others.
Yeah, I think the ones on this day are pretty inconsequential to the grand scheme. But as soon as you get into like day 4, it starts to be noticeable because you could end up at the boss fight without a skill that we use if we have it, if you don't get enough refights. Ben chasing after Shiva. Shiva knows there's something wrong, and she's trying to get away from Ben, but Ben is being a stubborn child about it. I hate this fight so much.
Yeah, this is one of the more annoying introductions and status afflictions.
I don't know. God.
What they do is they shoot these webs on the ground, and you get.
You got me.
and or I think it's called stiffness. But slow, basically, the way that it works is it not only limits your movement speed, but also your ATB speed. So our ability to dodge as well as our ability to take actions is hindered, and it's just super annoying.
So the reason I'm finishing down here is because that's where the save is this way. I think there's a med 3 in here too, and a armor upgrade. This is the med 3. So we can at least get a little benefit out of coming in here. Although it does open it up the opportunity to get that fight we just had again. So kind of stinks, but there's, we could just die and that would be a lot worse.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Although we do have 2 revives, so we're looking all right.
Where it'll be. It's the game lends itself to marathon safety quite a bit, not only in the revives, but also if you just choose to, take a little bit of a time loss and heal yourself and basically forfeiting a turn to heal, which in a speedrun will obviously slow us down, but in this marathon setting, it gives us a little bit of leeway to have some survivability.
Yeah. So here's another. After we have a little bit of dialogue here, we get to watch another pretty cool cutscene. If you're like a horror fan, kind of like a monster fan, we get to watch the transformation of Shiva into Kerberos, I think is the official monster name or something like that. But we all just call her Shiva.
Yeah, this is one of the scenes that I think sticks with people, that people remember the most. Partly in due to the fact that it just completely ignores the laws of conservation of energy and mass, but it just looks neat. There was somebody on the team that was in charge of like designing these models, and I think that they did a really sweet job.
Yeah, for sure. Baker has 4 bullets in his gun. He wasn't ready for this. So we got to fight with 2 rats and a crow here. Normally after this fight, we would... Sorry, I'm just trying to dodge. We would do a menu here, but because I got that random tool in day 2, I don't need to do that menu right now. But we will keep the tool for later, so it's also a small time save in day 4. I'm just gonna heal a little bit, see if I can conserve medicine strictly for Shiva.
Other fight.
Oh right, yeah, we gotta go do the Revenge for Taurus. Thank you for the reminder. Don't worry, everybody, we're gonna do it. It's over here. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, I mean you can do it in any order. I just didn't know if he was gonna do a second.
So here it is. This is the monster that took Torres out.
It's a really neat fight because he looks super, super scary.
So you're the one who got Torres. That's how we know he's the one who got Torres. So it's funny too because nice. I kind of wanted him to melee us. This is just a dog man, but he has his ability is he'll have your health when he does that area of effect attack. The other dogmen just lower your defense. But Torres avenged, and he actually gives us a gun we can supplement into our menuing for later. So nice little enemy variant, unique to see. It's funny that it's so much bigger than the other ones. Like, look at the size of this one compared to the one we just fought.
But he dies really like in the same amount of turns, which doesn't really lend itself to how good of a fight Torres must have put up.
Yeah.
It really wasn't all that difficult.
Yeah, they have the same amount of HP as the other ones. Do we have any? No. All right, so throw your prayer emotes up in chat. We're basically just hoping that Shiva doesn't want to kill us right now.
Yeah, this fight is annoying for a couple different reasons, and I'll let him kind of focus on what's going on the screen while I kind of try to explain it. Basically what happens is the reason we dislike this fight so much is that she works perfectly around our vest properties of being able to... She can half health you. She can do like half of your health in one hit. That attack right there takes half of your health, whatever it's currently at. So that can't, technically kill you. But she can follow it up with a bite that can do over 70 damage. So she has the unique ability to be able to dodge our vest healing properties if she just follows up with a strong enough combo that can two-shot you basically. The lasers are pretty safe. Usually they only do about 40-50 damage, and he's gonna hope that we see more lasers for safety purposes. And what she just did right here is healed, which is another annoying thing she does. So on top of the fact that she has the unique ability to defeat us a lot easier than other enemies, she also heals herself, which drags the fight on forever. Another thing we didn't mention is that our gun has random targeting on it. And because of that, it targets the 3 heads, randomly. And there's a bonus to having a randomly targeting gun, but when it's a 3-headed enemy, it becomes a real pain in the rear. But that was not bad. We saw one heal.
One heal. And I think I actually killed one of the heads on that heal, so not too bad. Because as soon as you get rid of a head, it starts. You obviously can focus more damage.
Yeah, it becomes easier once you just hope that your most bullets find one target and not get spread out. But it's completely out of our hands.
Well, we did get. I got pretty fortunate in that fight too, because I did get meleeed with like 70 health. I think twice, but both hit for 49.
Yeah, 40. Yeah, in the 40s. Yeah.
Which is good.
I know that a lot of you are probably asking, why are you using a gun that just targets randomly? Then that seems like super inconvenient. And the reason that we do is rate of fire 2 on an SMG is statistically the best DPS in the game because it will fire 2 bullets, and then it'll fire a third. It has a chance to fire a third bullet. Now the importance of that is that every additional shot you fire in rate of fire 2, 3, 4, all the way up, as you add more bullets to your gun, like to your single turn shots, it reduces the amount of damage each one of those bullets does. So rate of fire 2, bullet 1 and bullet 2 do 66% damage. And that third bullet, that random third bullet, is unpenalized. So it does 100% damage, which is why it can really add up. On top of that, the SMGs have the fastest reload and firing animations. So all those things collectively make it really, really strong. And you'll notice that RJ will strategically position himself in fights to give him the best opportunity that no matter where his gun decides to target, he has a really good chance to hit just about anything that's on the screen.
Yeah. Start day 4, we have to just basically run all the way back upstairs to find Maida in like the police lab area. And they discuss their next move. Maida thinks that Eve is going to go to the hospital to acquire something that she's going to want to get to help her birth the ultimate being. Quite a concept. But we're going to talk about it first, at least. There's also, to the SMGs for this day, coming up not too long from now, we're going to have a chest that's going to give us one of 2 guns. And it gave birth to a game I like to call Dream or Meme. Because one gun is really fun and good for the run, and the other one kind of just like, it works, but it doesn't work as well. So we'll call that out when we get there. But if this would be a pretty good time for donations if we have any.
Yes, we do. We got a $10 donation from BJA5058 saying, welcome to the party. And from Unintendo, a $50 donation for saying, may all of your genes be selfish, your problems be mitochondrial, and your horse's fire burn for way, way too long. Keep up the awesome run for a great cause. Thank you guys so much for your donations.
Great messages.
Yeah.
So we're headed to the hospital. Like I said, Maida has the suspicion that that's where Eve's going to be headed, so that's where we're going. Surprise, surprise, he's right. But before we don't do a whole lot for the beginning here. We're going to do some item collection and get ready for the actual fighting portions of the day. But before we do, anytime Clam's on the screen, you're going to be mashing for any amount of time. Anytime Maida's on the screen, he's going to give you something worthless. Yeah,
you're right about that. He gives us another charm here. And unlike the previous one, we don't have the luxury of just being able to immediately put it in the police storage. So we just gotta keep that thing on. She says something like, "Thank you, I'll treasure it always." And I'm like, what? What?
I just met you.
Yeah, like this is the weirdest thing, man. Especially because, like, from where I'm sitting, I would very much like to just toss that thing into the dirt.
I think the only one that has a purpose is the very last one he gives you. Because I think from what I understood is that's what allows you to hold the ammo, the special ammo for a gun later in the game.
Yeah, they're placeholders for the special ammo as well as the new game plus, like being able to carry your games into the next game file, so that you don't. Yeah, it's weird. But the ones that he gives you earlier, they actually don't have a purpose. So.
Yeah, so we dump them right away. We were going to use an elevator to go up, but Eve was keen to us being here and actually sent us to the basement and turned the power off. So we're going to do a little bit of a fetch quest here to try and gather the items we need to turn the power back on.
Yeah, which is crazy because, like, thank goodness that you don't run across any other, like, patients of this hospital while you're here. But you've got to imagine that while the building has no power, the people are just not doing super hot. It never really addresses that, but it always makes me sad that there's the potential that people could be really dependent on the electricity working in this hospital.
Yeah. And normally in that room, so we grabbed our first fuse. We're going to be grabbing 3 fuses. There's a gun in there that we'll grab, but because we got to do the Revenge for Torres incentive, we got a gun that will essentially give us the same perk that we need from it. So we don't have to pick it up, at least. It's efficiency. We're still just running. One thing to note in this area too, the hospital has the craziest screens. Like for all 3 of those screens, I'm just holding down. They all went the same way. The directionals for this room, these places, they don't work the same way from room to room, especially the lobbies with the elevators in them. Sorry, I just went silent. I wanted to make sure I didn't get caught up by the flies here in the goo. But yeah, so those enemies, the flies that fly around, if you happen to hit the goo, it works the same way as the web from the spiders. It slows you down.
Yeah, those guys are those little bees. They're pretty annoying. In fact, most of the enemies in here are the hospital's fights, especially if you have to take some fights multiple times. They can just be a huge time sink because most of them are multiple enemies, 3, 4 enemies on the screen at a time. And they have the ability to slow or poison you. A lot of enemies attacking you puts you in a lot of hit stun, things like that. They also drop a lot of medicine, but they can also drop a lot of cure M's and cure P's and things that we won't really take a whole lot of use of. So they can kind of bog down your inventory if you're not keeping track of them as well.
I'm also paying attention as I run through collect these things that I'm actually picking the stuff up. Just because we're doing some safety stuff, I might have a couple extra medicines. I know I have an extra revive, so I just want to make sure I'm actually picking these fuses up. And that was good. That room right here this is the first opportunity for a refight. There's 4 in this day, and we actually got to skip that. So off to a good start. 3 for 3 on skips.
Yeah, that's really, really nice. There are some that, like, if you're gonna take encounters, you'd rather take some as opposed to others. But we're just gonna hope that we get a clean 0 for 6 throughout day 3 and 4. That would be the dream.
So here's Dreamer Meme, as I was mentioning earlier. The chest right to our left here has our next gun in it. And if it's the Micro Uzi, we will be happy. If it's the M10, we'll still be all right about it, but not as happy. Micro Uzi. All right, we get to have a good time in the run.
Sweet, you guys get to listen to Ice Bullets.
Ice Bullets rule.
Yeah, so the once upon a time when we used to run this game, that chest right there, if you didn't get the gun that RJ did get, it would actually be a reset. You would have to start the whole run over, or you would say safety save and reset. But thankfully, a guy named Primus, a really, really talented runner of this game, put together not only the entire speedrun notes for the game that make it very accessible to new runners, but as well as he came up with this backup strat that we utilize now, which allows 100% of our runs to finish. The time difference between the Uzi and the M10 is, much, much smaller in a vacuum now than it once was, which makes all your runs, it's a lot easier to get people to run the game when you tell them that, every run can finish, there's no resets. It's definitely a huge quality of life improvement, so shouts to that guy for that.
Yeah, it's awesome knowing that no matter which one you get, you can at least keep going. Because how far are we at this point? It's like an hour and 15 minutes almost. Like, that's a bummer to have a reset based on pure RNG.
Basically, it's very close to being like dead smack in the middle, almost exactly halfway through the run.
But now we should have all 3 fuses here, and we're just going to plug it in and turn the power back on. But we can't just put them in, so I have to kind of jiggle to the right so I can keep putting the fuses in. And then you make sure you repair the wires first, because if you turn the power on and then do the wires, she gets electrocuted. I actually don't know what happens when you get electrocuted first, but or if you were to do that. I've never done that.
Oh, really? Yeah, she just shocks herself and falls over, and then she gets right back up. It's really odd that they even let you do that. It's like, whatever. Scared me the first time I did it because I thought I died, but she just stands right back up. You gotta turn it off, fix it, and then turn it back on again.
That's funny.
And I like how the elevator has 3 options. It's basement, lobby, or 13th floor. Like, that's it. Those are the only floors this elevator goes to.
And a funny thing about that elevator is it's the only elevator that we'll ever see in the run that gives us, it tells us to pick a floor as a text box before it gives us the floor options. So if you're not really paying attention when you get to the elevators later in the game, you might just be matching and you'll go to the wrong floor. Because why not be consistent? Gotta make it difficult. They're still just traversing the hospital here. I kind of like, if you can wedge yourself between an enemy and the flies, they'll never attack you. So I at least try to get like 1 round of shots off before it gets off, because we end up killing the enemy. Unfortunately, I was in a bad spot for this screen. You actually want to be in the bottom left, so we lost a little bit of time having to run to the cutscene, but no big deal. The fight was quick.
Yeah, I like this lady right here. She's like, hey, there's somebody in the next room. Can you help him? And Aya says, yes, period. That's it.
There it is.
Like getting a K in a text or something. Wow, dude, there's just like really no feeling to that whatsoever.
I didn't get it.
It's worth mentioning that the screen that he's on now, as well as the 2 screens previous, those are going to be the next 3 quote-unquote repeat encounter screens. If we have to take any of those fights, we want the second one, the one where there was only 2 enemies for obvious reasons. It's much faster. The worst one to get multiple times is probably the fight he's doing right now. There'll be a brief scene that he watches, and then when he goes to leave the way that he entered, he has a chance of taking 3 potential encounters. So fingers crossed that we get none of them. That would be pretty ideal.
So I botched that fight a little bit. I like to try and split the top bacterium and the middle bacterium, because it almost always keeps that fly from getting to you for basically the entire fight. But if you miss it, you kind of trap yourself between all 4 of them, and you're almost always going to get slowed. So I got slowed, unfortunately. But we made it. There's the fights in this day have such a low threat rate of actually killing you, as long as you're paying attention to your health, that it's okay. If it's just you lose time, but you don't really lose much else.
Yeah, that's really the biggest inconvenience of this whole area, is that like kill potential is so low, but you can really just bleed a ton of time by getting hit with all those little poison balls, or being slowed, or the mixed man sending 12 balls bouncing on the screen. It's like this whole place is just comprised of of enemies that exist slowly to slow you down.
All right, so we skipped that one at least, so we'll see what kind of luck we get. We're 5 for 5. Are we gonna go 6 for 6? Let's go!
Wow, that's actually crazy, dude.
I know.
All right, quit the incentives, boys. We're going for the record. Everybody, buckle up. It's PB time.
Oh,
that's
God.
Awesome, that's incredible.
I know. I can't. This is the dream.
Yeah, I can't even remember the last time I saw that. That's super nice. Now let's just hope that everything goes correctly from this point forward. You're gonna end up. The clamp curse is gonna strike when you get that fight in the sewer. The 2 bats and the 2 snakes.
Oh God, yeah. No. Oh man, I hate that fight so much. I didn't want to think about it until I was there, so thank you. I'm actually gonna check my health before I initiate this fight. We're just gonna be safe. Quick little top off. I like to be above 100 health for this thing because
this dude does a surprising amount of damage. This giant slime here in the bottom, and sometimes you can attempt to dodge him and not succeed.
the good thing is, normally for that first attack, if he's gonna lunge at you, if you run to the straight back of the screen, you should dodge it every time.
I didn't even see if he B vest or not.
I don't think he did. I think it was ammo.
Nice.
Yeah, he also he could drop an item that it's a vest that we don't even want to think about having, so it's just something we need to menu out later, but I don't think he dropped it. I will check, because I'm sure I'll get at least some curative items. Hopefully not, but I'll do my best, but we might. So here's the menu with the dialogue box. It's like, pick the floor. It doesn't do that for any other elevator.
Basement, lobby, or floor 13.
Pick your poison.
8, and sorry.
We only go to these 3 floors. If you don't like it, take the stairs.
Yeah, everything else is the stairs for safety reasons.
This fight's kind of annoying. We start the fight off trying to energy shoot the mixed man, because that'll put him in one-shot territory. And the idea is that hopefully in our next attack, we'll be able to shoot him before he releases any balls onto the screen. No, why are you shooting those things? Gosh darn it.
Oh, bummer. Yeah, so the mixed man is like the epitome of the opposite enemy of what we enjoy, because he creates more targets, and we have a randomly targeting weapon.
Oh my God.
And he slows you. Now, both of his attacks do like almost next to no damage. However, the balls that he sends flying around and the slow, those things added together can make you just sit on a screen for like 20-30 seconds more than you'd like to.
As you saw there, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I've had it where there was four balls bouncing around on the screen.
There's actually, I believe that if you shoot 100 mixed man balls before killing the mixed man, he will drop a super tool.
Yeah, and that lets you remove like a property from a gun, right?
Yeah, it's lets you use the same way a tool would work, but it doesn't scrap the weapon that you're using it on, which is neat. So if you guys are so inclined, you can run around.
These guys are going in on me.
Randomly targeting weapon is not gonna. I wouldn't try it with that, but yeah, this fight seems to be going pretty unfortunate. The mixed men are they're out to get you today, dude. They knew that you took 0 encounters on the way here.
Yeah, they're making up for it hardcore. Good God. I'm gonna take this medicine. Normally I wouldn't think too much about what I'm grabbing from these. I would just mash through it. Or not take anything, depending on how much medicine I have.
Kind of take your time and just stock up a ton of medicines and stuff, not have to worry about menuing. It's nice because, again, like we mentioned, the CM vest that we use that keeps us safe, it runs off of having medicine in our inventory. So we want to make sure that we pick up those when we can, but also not a bunch of the other fluff that's going to just bog down our inventory.
So I found, like, if you just stand, like, right here for most of the fight, that Dogman won't do anything. Unfortunately, we didn't kill anything before he went unwedged himself.
Fights are going just not amazing.
Yeah, I get a little worried about the like bomb thing they throw, because I've seen them do 60. Damage. Yeah, I've seen them do like 61 damage. It's scary.
They're big. They hit big sometimes. Yeah, it's crazy. I think that over the course of my time speedrunning this game, I've managed to die on like every single screen with an encounter at some point in some way, shape, or form. Some things, crits in this game, they just really do happen sometimes. Enemies sometimes hit you for like huge damage spikes. And you know, obviously you don't want to heal before every fight, so sometimes you just roll the dice and you pay.
All right, so we're gonna get ready for a boss fight. Unload the gun. We're not gonna have haste at all, so I don't even care about my parasite energy. There's absolutely no way we had enough experience to get it. And we'll save, because I don't know. I feel like everybody probably has that boss they hate in this run, and for me, it's Spider-Woman on the roof here. I can't tell you how many times I've just been hit for like 130 damage over and over again and just killed.
Yeah. If a couple of things go wrong in consecutively, she can really chew through you. She attacks very quickly sometimes. If she gets you stuck, she can really make your day rough. So yeah, she's got a couple of tricks up her sleeve. Fortunately, most of the strats that we try to implement minimize that risk, but you know, it doesn't ever get rid of risk entirely. There's sometimes you just get more unlucky than you'd like to.
Yeah, we got a little cutscene here, so if you have a donation or two you want to read out, this would be a good chance.
I'd say I'm an excellent advertisement for the price index we got right now. For just $50 of a combined bid, you are able to win a Nintendo Switch contributed by Kaspersky, or by a $30 donation combined, like 6 $5 donations, 3 $10, or just one $30. You got the chance to win the ViewSonic Elite XG270 UG monitor. So, take the chance, take the shot.
Yeah, get those donations in. Those prizes are really great for contributing to an amazing cause. So the first thing we look for in the Shiva fight, I always do that, Spider-Woman fight, is how Spider-Woman moves to start the fight. If she moves towards you, you're probably going to be okay. But if she moves away, you're probably going to get spider-webbed. But luckily she moved towards us, which is nice because we didn't have haste, which allows us to move quicker to make up for it if she doesn't move the way we want her to. But otherwise, you just kind of want to get right in her grill and shoot her until she's dead. She'll probably be dead after this turn. Yeah, she's like, nah, I'm not gonna hit you. So pretty clean.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, that fight went pretty quickly and without a whole lot of shenanigans, so that was pretty favorable. Then she collapses to the roof, and this is one of my favorite. Like, anytime I watch somebody play this game for the first time casually on Twitch, I always like to pay attention to this scene and see how they react, because the game doesn't give you a whole lot of clues as to like what your solution is in this little timed puzzle, or even the fact that you're timed. You just so sometimes people end up having to redo this section, unfortunately, but it's always funny to watch.
Yeah. So what Eve is gonna? There's planes coming to get her, but she's gonna do Eve stuff and make the planes kind of crash into the building. And if you don't get to where you need to go on the building, you actually die and have to start over. So as soon as this cutscene's over, all you really hear is like plane humming and no guidance. But luckily we know where to go, because speed running, or, you know, just playing it more than once.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those games that on your second playthrough, you know a lot of things that really, really lend themselves to, you know, having a more efficient playthrough of the game. The two separate escape sequences, how to min-max guns, things like that. But another thing is like the whole gun system, where you can kind of construct your own and use whatever weapon, is really neat because it does give that replayability. So that is one of the strong things about this game, especially considering how old it is.
Yeah. It's a pretty deep, like, upgrading system. You can mess around with a lot of different variations of guns and upgrades.
But yeah, that is definitely a casual player killer, that's for sure.
So, Spider-Woman wasn't done with us. She tried to foil us one more time, but, you know, we were ready for it. But that is the end of day 4. And then we go get a little bit of dialogue mashing here, and then we start the hardest day of the run.
It's definitely the longest.
Yeah, I guess that's
like
why I think it's the hardest.
Dude, I know, and it feels like it, man. It just drags on. It seems. Yeah, this is Daniel is back. You go to the NYPD, and then really like it's almost like a crazy point in the game where it's like you go into post game. It always feels like the first 4 days are kind of like setup, and then day 5 and 6 are like, conclusion. There's a lot that goes on in these last 2 days.
So earlier we were talking about which days don't have dialogue before they start. Day 5 is one of them. It starts you on the world map.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I was like, I feel like that does happen, but I couldn't think about it until just now.
And for some reason I wanted to say 3, but I was like, no, there's a whole lot of mashing at 3. I don't know why I thought that. But yeah, you're right. It does and straight up put you on the map at the beginning.
So I guess we could talk about that a little bit too. Because I got the micro Uzi, I actually get to make a detour to a place we don't need to go to get a perk from a gun that's at the warehouse. And the perk is really awesome. It's called Quick Draw, and it gives you the opportunity to start every single fight with a full ATB bar as soon as it starts. And it's really an invaluable skill as long as it actually triggers as much as you want it to. But that skill we cannot put on the M10, so that's one thing right away that the micro Uzi is better for. So that's the end of day 4. I always get a little mixed up here. I gotta get better at that one. But rather make sure I'm going to the right place.
You get so used to getting bad luck that it's hard to remember that you have to go to this place sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. I haven't had to come here for the actual reasons to come here, and I don't know how long. Because I'm going to make a detour into the warehouse and grab that vest, I think. I actually don't know how much more it'll help if you get every... Sorry, I can't hear where this chest is. There it is. There's audio cues that I can't actually hear right now. But I'm going to grab it anyway, because it's an upgraded version of the vest we're using. And I like to be safe. How about you open the chest, huh? Yeah, so you saw it was like a straight upgrade. Oh, and we can actually...
the PPK giving quick draw, which allows us to take our turn first occasionally, like it's a % chance to happen. It's really, really handy. It allows us to get shots and spells or whatever off at the beginning of fights right away. So it's a lot more comfy to use the micro Uzi than the M10. This is where it's really starting to become noticeable, and then eventually with ice bullets later, which you'll eventually see.
Yeah, there's an enemy. There's armadillos in the museum, and when you have the M10 versus the micro Uzi, you really feel it against those guys because the frost damage does extra damage. It takes like an extra round and a half to kill a single one. So as you see right there, able to shoot right away with the quick draw. Very nice. These fights leading up to the sewer are kind of just like, here's some ammo. Here's some ammo and maybe some things kind of fights. Although this one could be kind of annoying with the 2 snakes.
Yeah, especially because the guys with like the triple tail pieces that are running around, they can move themselves like out of combat range sometimes pretty easily while you're trying to deal with the snakes, and they can fire stuff at you from afar, hit you, melee you, and hit you from the front. But that actually went pretty well. I mean, it wasn't super annoying. The snakes died quick. Usually
we focus the snakes right away. Might as well just heal up. Why not? But so we got a little bit of dialogue here, but we're going to go into the sewer for a fight. This is honestly You could make an argument over every boss fight that this first fight in the sewer here is the worst fight in the game. And you'll see why. Well, I guess hopefully you won't see why, but we can explain it at least. Here's another charm from Maida that we're super pumped to have. We're going to get into a fight with 3 bats, and they have the ability to put you in darkness, I think is the official term, which is like blind in most games. It reduces your gun range to nothing, and you can't shoot anything. And we don't have a way of dealing with that effect at this point in time. Oh, and I didn't get quick draw. Feels good. So I'm going to start this fight by casting haste right away. I also didn't think about how I can't hear this fight at all. I'm going to get shot. Whoa, he just missed. They didn't, though. Feels bad. So I literally can't do anything until this darkness goes away.
Yeah, it's so the way that the game works is anytime you fight an enemy that gives you a status ailment, that killing that enemy will result in oftentimes the curative item for whatever ailment. Now the issue with that is until we fight an enemy that blinds us, we don't have an opportunity to get an item that cures the blindness. So in this first fight,
going bad.
you literally just gotta stand there and hope to not be blind a lot. I mean, that's really all that happens.
This was a terrible pattern to. Oh my god! Wow,
that was a really strong attack.
Jeez, it did 70 damage. That's crazy.
It was just RJ's attempt to drop the blind status effect there. Oh, and the iframes. Oh wow, that went. What a finisher!
Yeah, we made up for it, I guess.
That was a strange fight.
That was terrible. I didn't realize how much I rely on being able to hear the sonar attacks coming out. I wasn't close enough. That's strange. There we go. I was like, that other one's a... Oh, he bumped... The contact damage bumped me in. Feels really bad. But luckily we have Cure Ds to actually sort of deal with it. Oh my god. This is literally the worst bad fights I've ever had. I'm gonna heal because I'm scared.
This is just a good example of how these can go. They really just go this way sometimes, and no amount of experience can really make you feel better one way or the other.
God, they just will not. They won't stop. Oh my god. Oh my god, I only have one more. Oh my goodness. This is some good stuff. This is Parasite Eve speedrunning. We haven't been showing it off so far. Thank God he died or I would have been blinded again. Please die. My goodness. Please don't get this next fight. This fight, there's an encounter on the screen that could just not happen. Oh my god.
Oh, that is rough, dude.
This is great. Day 5, baby.
This is probably the worst encounter in the entire game. Just because there's 4, you gotta dodge blind, you gotta dodge poison, there's 4 enemies, the screen is huge, and the like you can actually like in one run to the next.
Oh my god, dude, I'm gonna die again.
You can legit not even take this fight. Like so you can just have, there's a high chance that you never even see this encounter.
At least we proc some medicine. Dude, this is insane. All right, haste is digging us out of the grave right now. I'm gonna take this ammo.
Yeah.
Woo. God,
but
please.
We persevere. We made it.
Oh my god, that was crazy. All right, no fight. We could get a fight on that screen, but we skipped it. They're like, all right.
Feels like it's almost like, you know, might as well take it at this point, just because, just to really shore everything up. But, geez, that was definitely that was actually worse than that set of fights right there, and the way that everything went was actually worse than just taking a couple of encounters in the hospital.
Yeah, seriously, that was
really does go that way.
About as bad as it could get. Insane. I was too happy. Now I'm sweating a little bit.
Yeah, you got too lucky early on. This is the clamp curse, guys. It's real.
It's happening. Oh, we dodged it. Nice. Oh my goodness, bad damage rolls. Alright, luckily that's the last bat we fight. That's not the last enemy that can put us in darkness, but at least we won't have to think about it for a little while. Oh my gosh. That was crazy. Here's our goo. The goo's back, finally.
Yeah. I like she says, she's like, oh, this is everyone from Central Park. It's just freaking goo splattered against the walls and stuff. Somewhere in there is Daniel's ex-wife just on the wall of the sewer.
We have a little lull. We're just going to be like running through a couple of scenes here. If there's any donations we can read.
I just want to take time to talk about Alzheimer's because Alzheimer has no current cure, but treatments for symptoms are available and research continues. Although current treatments cannot stop Alzheimer's from progressing, they can temporarily slow the worsening of dementia symptoms and improve quality of life for those with Alzheimer's and their caregivers. So please, if you got something spare and want to donate, of course, we really appreciate every donation, and every donation counts. It's like, in my opinion, it's the worst sickness there is.
Yeah, it's a disease that affects a lot of people. So if you can afford and would like to, please consider it. But so the goo was trying to get into the city's water supply, but we pumped it out, so it's cool. Don't worry about it. You can drink the water in New York. It's fine. I almost forgot to turn the pump off.
Dude, one time I did that and I ran out there and I was like, why can't I cross? And it just took like a good while for it to click into my head where I was like, oh, I forgot to do something. I just stared at it and I was like, what is happening? Yeah, this is another screen, that the one that RJ just went through, where it's really hard to tell. Like if you run just directly right in a straight line, you won't hit the door, even though it looks like it's directly right of you. At one point, you have to like diagonally move downwards for a little bit. It's, you know, these pre-rendered backgrounds are gorgeous, but sometimes they really don't lend themselves to like true cardinal directions.
So we're gonna make a safety save here because we're about to fight a boss, a very tough boss.
Yeah, just like the worms, this fight is definitely. I would say that the worms and then this fight upcoming here are the most infamous, at least to to runners and stuff like that. It's they're definitely the ones that people gatekeep or they struggle with the most upon learning or practicing the run. Shoot, I mean, Centipede still gives me the business pretty often. He's sometimes a difficult fight to kind of master. Things can go a couple of different ways. But this guy right here that RJ's fighting, he's a little mole. Usually dies in 2 attacks without hitting you. But man, let me tell you, if he does get a hold of you, that dude can pump out some numbers, dude. He can really do some decent damage.
So we don't really need the med one, so I'm going to actually use those to heal up so I can hopefully conserve. Ooh. Usually that chest could be a med 3. It was 30 ammo, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but ooh, I should probably refill. But I'm going to be fighting boss here, so I'll let kind of Palmer take the
I will.
explanation.
This is a pretty technical fight as far as strategy is concerned, so I'll try to do some explanation. You see RJ shaking his head clearly is because his quick draw didn't proc, which is always super annoying. But there's a few attacks that this guy can do. He has 2 separate phases, and the first one is what you're seeing here, where he's one big uniform piece of centipede, and he has an attack where he fires those poison blobs into the air. He sometimes hits forward where he melees, and then he has another attack where he fires that beam from his tail. Now the issue with that beam is that it can blind you, which is why you saw RJ keep... Oh wow, that was super nice. You saw him keep 1 cure D just in case. And then when he goes to take enough damage, he will eventually go to split. Now if you time an attack specifically as he splits, all of your bullets will go onto one of the targets, as opposed to splitting randomly between the 4. We don't really know why it does that. Only one is targetable until they land on the ground. and it was actually enough damage to kill one of them, which is really, really lucky. And so RJ immediately followed it up with an energy shot to kill one of the other weaker pieces, taking it from a 4 fight to a 2. 2 really quickly, and just like that, it's over, man. That was actually an amazing centipede.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Was really, really good. That was really good.
Frost. Here we go.
Yeah, so now you guys get to hear the glorious sound effects of the frost bullets, the ice bullets as we call them. It is a treat. The noise that it makes is really terrific. There's 2 enemies in the next area that are weak to frost, so this gives us a little bit of an edge on those enemies specifically. Typically, we would just, if we had the other gun, we would just take the bonus stats from Centipede's weapon. But man, that was an amazing Centipede. RJ's gonna grab this key really quick, then he's gonna move to attempt to exit the sewers, and we're gonna hit the disc change, which happens at just a really odd spot.
Yeah,
I always thought it was kind of weird.
It's like, here you go. Disc change right now.
All right, change the disc. Yeah.
Gotta be careful, though, on the PS TV, especially because right before the settings menu is the power off button, and it doesn't ask if you want to power it off. If you click it, it just turns off. So, gotta be extra careful. I don't want to waste a centipede fight like that. That was honestly the best centipede fight I think I've ever had.
Yeah, that was nuts. I mean, that's how you want it to go every single time you do Centipede. You use like 2 or 3 medicines, if that. You have that die on the split like that. That's huge. When one of them dies, as soon as it splits, and you can energy shot to immediately reduce it to just 2 heads, it makes it much easier because RJ actually did so well in the fight that we didn't even get a chance to explain. But if you stand directly in the middle of all 4 of those targets, you won't be able to hit any of them. So the depth perception on that screen is like super jank, to where you kind of have to stand a little bit closer to like one side of the screen in order to ensure that you have the best chances of doing full damage. But man, he did it like a pro, made it look easy. I promise that if you do it casually, it will not be that simple. Don't let us
None of my runs ever go like that. You go watch anybody playing it, any run, it never goes like that. But that's all right. We at least got a little... I had... The bat fights leading up to that were honestly the worst I've ever had, so we balanced it out a little bit. Goodness gracious. I blew my mind. There's some really great dialogue in the museum here. Like, we just fought a giant centipede, and now we're walking into the museum, and there's a giant scorpion. She's like, "Ugh, I guess somebody doesn't want me to get past." Like,
yeah, it's at this point nothing really should surprise you, but it still does sometimes. And in the top right corner of the screen where RJ is right now, you can see like what looks like this, almost like a little time machine or something. It's like a podium, and they'll ask you, they ask you like trivia questions.
Please, game.
You can answer trivia questions to get like certain rewards and stuff. Sometimes it's pretty neat.
Please die.
Yeah, these scorpions, they're no joke. They can really push out damage, and anytime that you hit them, they like to counterattack, which is what you're seeing right there. They can really do a sneaky amount of damage. They can be pretty sketchy.
Man, that makes this a little sketchy for the rest, but...
There's a third revive if you want to go pick that one up.
I don't know. Where's that at? I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, so when the screen where you fight the armadillo and the 2 green lizards right before the pterodactyl, there's stairs on the left. If you go down them, there is a double armadillo fight you have to take. There's a revive in the box down there. I would probably grab it to make your mind a little bit more at ease with some of the fights in this area.
I picked up a bunch of med 2s.
At the end of that fight, she's like, "Wow, dinosaurs, that's crazy." And I'm like, "You're in a dinosaur museum. What about that is crazy to you? That seems like one of the least crazy things we've seen throughout this entire adventure. The lightning polar bear, not a second glance, but it's all these dinosaurs in this dinosaur museum.
And a giant scorpion.
Yeah, I mean, what the heck?
These guys are the new crows. They either drop med 2s or junk, and we don't really want either. And they give significantly less experience than pretty much everything else in the museum. So we exit that screen and leave right away to trigger this cutscene.
Yeah, these ice bullets, so the raptors, the bigger little blue raptor guys, they are weak to ice, as well as these enemies RJ's going to fight here, armadillos. They're pretty neat to fight, though, because they have...
just not
kind
moving.
They do like a telegraphed attack pattern. That if you get stunned and you get hit by multiple, it can do some serious damage, but typically they're pretty easy to dodge, as you can kind of tell what they're about to do. They also one really nice. Oh, that was a pretty good fight, man.
Got a full cure.
Yeah, that's.
I'm just gonna
worst.
get rid of it.
Yeah, so medicine 4 can drop from armadillos, but they also can drop that that full cure that you saw right there, which really is like it doesn't give you full HP, which is what you would think a full cure does. It just wipes any negative status effect. It's like a cure-all, which really is super, super limited in use in the speedrun. I can't think of a single time when we're like, oh yeah, this is going to be useful.
I guess
There's
if
just
you...
not enough enemies.
If you ran out of like your cure Ds for the pterodactyls and happened to get blinded.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, because I can't think of any enemy that like puts multiple status effects on you besides like maybe the last Eve, like the second phase. She has like, some weird status stuff, but regardless, it just has a whole lot of really niche opportunity to be used. One thing that is worth mentioning here is some of these encounters in the museum, like this one that you're seeing him fight right here, can have variations. So this fight can actually just be one dinosaur or two. Obviously 2 takes a little longer, but yields more EXP. Some fights can be like 1 pterodactyl or like 3 green lizards and a raptor instead. This fight right here can actually be 2 armadillos or just 1 raptor, and he got 1 raptor, so...
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
It is. I mean, sometimes you can be doing an amazing run, do everything right, and sometimes the difference between your time save and day 5 comes in just getting the more favorable arrangement of enemies. That is a thing that happens.
So this is the room you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a box right by that tree.
All right.
And it really is like once you start to notice and play a little bit with ice bullets, aside from hearing that god awful noise, it really does do an impactful difference on these raptors and these armadillos. Like you'll notice when it crits or whatever, just how much of the damage picks up.
Yeah, and if you've ran the game and had the M10 in here, you really feel it against the armadillos. But at least we got another revive, so we can chill out for a little bit. I was getting a little panicked, not gonna lie.
Let the blood pressure settle a little bit, kind of ease out of it. But yeah, these one thing that's nice about one of the redeeming qualities of the museum is a lot of the enemies drop medicines. Sometimes so many medicines that you're having to like opt to not pick some up, or you're having to go use the weaker medicines in your inventory to make room for some of the better ones, because armadillos, pterodactyls can drop medicine 4s. The little green lizards can drop number 2s. You can pick up a few decent medicines. So really is inventory management and min-maxing that whole resource as a whole becomes pretty pertinent in this section.
So the pterodactyl's like the only other enemy right now that could blind us if it gets to that point, but it's a pretty weird attack. It like never is directly at you, and it's super easy to avoid. But that pterodactyl always drops a med 4, and there's a med 4 in this chest. So this room's pretty... Once you get to this room, you can kind of relax, at least, if you're worried about health.
Now this screen right here, the fight that he gets is a big difference. So nice. Okay, you got it, the pterodactyl. Yeah, if you get the other fight that you can get here, it takes way longer. It's like 4 different enemies.
Yeah, it's the 3 green dinosaurs and a raptor.
Yeah, and they hop around the screen and stuff, and it's super hard to target them. So sometimes it just feels super bad when you're trying to save time, or you're really close to your PB or something.
Saying you have to expend a lot more ammo, obviously, killing those ones, and you really don't get any return on those green dinosaurs at all.
Yeah. Sometimes you just get junk, and even medicine too is like sometimes you burn more ammunition on those guys than they're really worth.
God, I haven't actually had the micro Uzi in the museum in quite a few attempts. This is really fun.
Yeah, it's so nice. It feels much more fluid. And ammunition isn't really an issue in the route usually. It's very, very rare that we get unlucky enough on drops and stuff like that, or firing at enemies while we're blind and what have you. That reduces our ammo count, especially now that we do a little bit different stuff going in towards the end of the game. Weapon-wise, we use less ammunition as a whole. But there are times when you just get really unlucky and you don't have enough bullets and you gotta get resourceful. But fortunately, it looks like RJ's not having any kind of issues with that. Most of these fights are ending rather quickly as well. They haven't been drawn out super long.
Yeah, I feel the sewer is definitely the worst part about this day, at least in my head.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
All right, so I think this could be 2 raptors or this pterodactyl. We do have to be a little concerned about some of the experience we have, just because of skipping every fight in day 3 and 4. But I think we'll, if we end up getting a few of these refights, like we rock through the screen 2 more times, so we could get 2 more fights.
Yeah, this is actually the only screen in the game we go through 3 times, like with an encounter on it. Everything else is twice. This is actually a weird arrangement here. Usually you see another scorpion and a single dinosaur, but RJ's going to opt to energy shot, immediately eliminate that to reduce it to 2 enemies. Because the screen is so large, that's a really good decision to make, because it's way easier to contain and like stay in range 2 than it is to stay in range 3 enemies. Oh, that ice bullet crit really.
Yeah, it was like 105 or something.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's crazy. Nice. So this could be either 2 or 3, I believe. So 2's good. The less we see of these, the better.
Yeah, 2 is definitely the better option here, because these guys are they just exist to annoy you. He nailed it on the head when he said that these are pretty much the new bird enemies. They're merely inconvenience.
Just trying not to pick anything they drop up, honestly. Med 2s have like such little value at this point. This screen is annoying because it's deceptively long.
Thankfully, it's this fight, but yeah, you're absolutely right. The depth perception here makes it really, really hard to know whether or not you're in range to hit something, because it looks much closer to you than it is, as is displayed right there. Especially with an armadillo just rolling all over the place. Sometimes he ends at the clear other side of the hallway, and you're like, dude, seriously, what are you doing?
That actually wasn't too bad.
Yeah, that was clean.
My general strategy is just to stick with the pterodactyl and kind of wait until the armadillo rolls back to us. Because I don't know what that thing does. It's all over the place all the time. Just want to make sure I energy shot a raptor. So this is the same fight as the other one, obviously. So I'm going to opt for the same strat to just get rid of one of them.
Yeah, one thing you guys might be noticing is anytime you use a Parasite energy move that expends all of your energy, Aya gets put into like that 0.75 seconds worth of little, where she like groggies. So sometimes you can get punished by doing that, but RJ has opted to use his energy shots in situations that are mostly safe. So hopefully we won't see, that coming to bite us in the rear at any point, but it becomes a little bit more noticeable later on.
This is the security room. We're going to turn off the security, but we're also going to grab a gun on the left here. And this is a relatively new strat that's pretty fun to talk about when we get there. It's for later, but trust me, we'll be talking about it. But that's not something we used to get. See, like that elevator just put you right on the floor. I can't tell you how many times I've went to floor 1. But we're making a detour with this secret elevator. We have another tool and a gun to pick up. Very important for the strat.
A lot of people they come into my stream or whatever, and they don't even realize that this room is here. There's actually a handful of like hallways that you can get to in the museum that you don't even like if you're not paying close attention or like exploring, you might not ever encounter. And this is definitely one of them. The movement to actually get to that elevator and to get back from it is kind of strange as well.
Yeah, and I try to listen to like a footstep count to get out of there. So I was just holding up and left. You'll get out eventually, but you could be a little more efficient if you run straight up for a bit instead of running your face into a wall. This is a little neat cutscene, but also a good chance for donations if we have any.
Sadly, right now we don't have any, but I want to make sure everybody knows about the incentives and the bid wars. So if you want to see a blindfolded boss fight in Final Fantasy XIII, keep those donations coming. We're currently at $82.77 from 500, so keep them flowing, guys. We really appreciate it.
That sounds really cool. We should definitely work for that one.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Palmer doesn't know anything about playing games blindfolded.
Yeah, and to whoever's doing it, props to you, man. That sounds like it required some effort.
Just to hit on that, Palmer has actually beaten this game blindfolded twice.
A few times actually.
A few times.
I think 3 or 4. I need to do it again sometime, but I just I really don't like doing it, so try to push it off.
So we skipped the encounter on that scene on the comeback and this one. I don't mind skipping these. They're annoying fights when you really when you really break it down. So I'm okay with that. But I'm thinking we're gonna need some of the other refights to even this out a bit. But now there's another break in the play for a cutscene. Kind of like the climax. We see Clamp's motivations realized in this scene.
Yeah, I like how it's a wall of text in Clamp's office once more, ideally for the final time.
But we get 2 items in here, and I probably should have checked my items before I went in here. But luckily, you can't get out of here. Like if you go to take the items and you're full on inventory, it'll let you drop something for it. But we get 2 things that we need. We need that gun for the end. The final boss, and we need the key that we'll get from Clamp. But here he is. This scene always confused me because he comes in all aggressive and he actually tries to attack Aya with a scalpel. And I'm gonna go back to the part where she's like a borderline superhero that just killed a centipede 10 times her size, but this normal ass guy with a scalpel is too much of a threat for her. But thank goodness Daniel's here.
The boy, he comes through all the time. You always know you can count on him. He shows up clutch in the moment where it's most necessary. Clamp gets beat up in his own office. I'd like to point out that the screen is still on the same screen. Nothing has changed. No work has been done. It's been multiple days.
Science, it's tough. It's tough science. Mitochondria. I like how we just beat him up and then he just tells us everything. He's like,
and he's like, all right, sit down in this chair. Let me take a seat. You got me. Here's everything I know. Yeah.
Just don't punch me again. But yeah, he talks about how he was essentially helping Eve to accomplish the thing she's been trying to accomplish. And he's like, take me now. And he gets combusted.
Yeah, he bursts into flames. And then as he lays dying, he goes, oh, I was wrong. Wow, thanks, man.
You think? You're on fire, dude.
Yeah, it's a little late for that. And he's like, here, take this key. Amazing exit.
So not as long as the scene as a lot of Clamp office scenes, but long enough if you ask me. I'm sick of that guy. I'm glad he's combusted.
Yeah, fortunately, we're done with him for forever, which is super nice.
I just realized I didn't save. I'm gonna go back and save. Hopefully, can you get this fight again? Okay, good. Can you get the fight again in this room?
Yeah, you can. Oh no, it's I don't know actually. I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, we might find out.
Yeah, maybe after you've exited and then re-entered, but
Yeah.
you're unable to get it after that cutscene. So it leads me to believe that maybe it's unique, just
But
because it's like the only screen where you'd interact with something right beforehand.
Yeah, we're about to fight 2 bosses in a row, so I wanted to get a save in there. The first boss is a lot more threatening than the second boss, but you know, I've died to both, so better safe than sorry. Dang, we still skipped this fight. We still have one more opportunity to come through here, and then we we'll come through this room as well. I'm thinking we're gonna need at least one of these to kind of even everything out.
Probably.
I don't know though.
You did take the extra fight in the sewers.
That's true.
Gotten the more bloated EXP in some of these arrangements, so it might be close. You might end up exactly where you need to.
That would be great.
Scorpion. Yeah, that's always ideal. I'm gonna cross my fingers for that. That's for sure.
We saw the first scorpion went.
Yeah, fortunately at that point we're a little bit more well equipped, but it still is it's out of the way for sure. Here comes one of the most, this is one of these fights that it's like a mini boss that you just kind of look past because you don't really give it a whole lot of respect because it's usually not an issue. But boy, if you disrespect this guy, he will make you pay because he really has the potential to do some sneaky amounts of damage.
Yeah, he has a move where he charges across the screen, and it's basically, I don't know, it's almost unavoidable if you're not completely ready for it. And he could do upwards of 200 damage per swipe, and he'll swipe back and forth like 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, it can do, I've seen it do like 240 on a double attack or whatever, and it's like, if you're not prepared, you're in rough shape. But just kind of explain the strategy a little bit. RJ is going to open up with an energy shot, and the reason he does that is that this enemy has 2 phases. The first is with his head, his skull on, and the second is the skull will fall off. Now the first phase with the skull on, he is significantly more dangerous. His charges do a lot more damage. I think he takes a little less damage as well. I'm not sure, but
yeah, it definitely does.
You're gonna see him charge across the screen. Is his one attack, and the other attack is that lightning. Now, if you stand in a specific spot around his head, you're going to be able to have a better chance of dodging that as you see it kind of like curls and arcs. And then once RJ has gotten him to the second phase, like he does now, he's just going to, keep his haste up and attempt to mow him down. He's a little bit squishier now, definitely a lot less threatening. So getting out of that first phase as quickly as possible is the most important.
Yeah,
that went pretty well, man.
Yeah, it did go pretty well. We lucked out with the, oh, he's not dead for some reason.
Flings you out of the window as like a last little, as a death rattle kind of thing.
But joke's on him because it actually fully heals us.
Yep.
Dumb
Do not try it
dinosaur.
at home.
Yeah, don't advise jumping out of windows to cure yourself of ailments. Just gonna make sure my gun's loaded.
It's very fortunate that on the floor of this museum, there's 30 bullets and some medicine. Just for anybody who needs it,
Just in case you jump out the window and it doesn't heal you.
Over here is our, this is where we display all of our ammunitions.
Take some if you'd like.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's the second boss, T-Rex. You'd think he'd be scarier, but I mean, if you're not a dummy, which I've been prone to be, it's actually not too bad. We're just gonna keep our haste up.
You look like you're fine on EXP, by the way, so you should be good even without really great luck on these next few fights.
Oh, I got contact damaged into the fire.
Yeah, this fight right here is actually like, once you understand kind of the way it works, it becomes way easier to manage. Now, if you don't know what's going on or how his attacks are oriented, and you just kind of like run in circles or try to keep your distance, it'll force him to like jump across the screen a bunch and really get away from you and make the fight drag on. But you're gonna see RJ stay close to him, bait out these fire attacks, which are much easier to dodge, and then basically just rinse and repeat. Keep haste up, keep shooting, and then keep running to the back of him so that you can avoid the fire damage. Taking contact damage here, you've seen RJ take that 10 contact image or whatever. We do that on purpose usually. It's a good way of knowing that you're exactly where you need to be, as close to his character model as possible. Because sometimes you can stand in a certain spot and think you're close, and you end up missing your shots, and you're like, oh, well, great. So by bumping into him, it at least lets you know you're as close as you can possibly get.
See, because he took like an inch
Exactly.
forward and was...
You do be that way.
Let me back there.
Yeah, sometimes when if you get caught by the fire, you can take damage from it multiple times. So you can get like hit 2 or 3 times by one flame, and that damage really adds up. Sometimes it can do like 180 for each hit.
Oh my gosh, he's still in the corner. Stop it, dude.
He's feeling pretty fire happy right now. Typically, once he falls below 50 HP, he switches between fire and like this side missile attack that he does. It's really strange. It hardly ever hits and does not a ton of damage. But he'll also he can bite you, which can do a lot.
This
but
might
it's
hit me.
super slow, so you can get out of the way of that usually as well.
Okay.
And nice, he healed you right as the fight ended, so that's kind of cool, I guess.
Do a quick menu here. Our micro. Oh, that was almost terrible.
That would have been awesome. So the doing these menus in a marathon like RJ is doing right here is very nerve-wracking, because if you screw it up, you can basically lose the run. Yeah, you're fine on EXP, by the way.
Nice,
right.
That's good.
If you take 0 encounters, you'll level up perfectly. So.
Good.
But now
good.
he's modified this new gun that the T-Rex drops into a pistol that not only attacks twice, but it's 2 separate commands. So you fire 1 bullet and then you fire another bullet. But you can choose to heal with one of those, do a spell of some sort, use an item, anything like that. So enter 2 commands, which allows you to take 2 turns per turn, basically. Really, really handy. On top of that, his handgun is really, really strong because it does single target 1 bullet. And on top of that, it has splash damage because of the shotgun effect. So he basically has just this uber handgun that's firing burst effects and hits multiple enemies. And you're going to see him try to position himself in a way that allows him to take advantage of that.
Oh, I hit the wrong one. That's okay.
Yeah. So especially with the armadillos, they'd be moving so much that it's really hard to like line everything up perfectly. But the reason that 2 things actually. The handgun here was the conclusion of the backup strat that I mentioned previously that Primus came up for, that allowed us to get rid of resets in this game. And the and ice bullets. So ice bullets do help in the museum, but they're actually here. Open your inventory real quick. Oh yeah, you're 33. All right, cool. You're good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure you were good. That way I wasn't deceiving you, and then you ended up not 33, and I was like, well, I gotta go to bed. It's getting late.
Yeah, I'll have a good time with these boss fights getting absolutely demolished.
Yeah, so the Eve is strong to ice, which is why we can't continue to use that weapon. And she also has multiple targets, which make it really, really useful to have that spray effect. But
yeah, so basically we hit all 3 of her body parts with as much damage as possible. It's really nice. But yeah, so we've been talking about what level I've been at. Have we talked about Liberate at all yet? The breadwinner?
I haven't mentioned it. I'll definitely let you have a chat about it. It's sweet, man. It's so cool.
Yeah, it basically makes a lot of the boss fights, I would say after Eve, trivial. It makes the last guy like super pointless. Get him. Oh, he wasn't close enough. But it's a special, it uses all of your energy like Energy Shot does, but it turns you into like a Parasite badass. I don't know what else to say.
Like this really cool mutant being thing for a little bit. Does a ton of damage. You can't take damage while it's taking place. It's cool, man. Not only does it look cool, but it actually like goes hard,
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, we're good. We have a ton of medicine, too, so as long as I don't get absolutely demolished by Eve here, we won't need a lot of medicine from that guy. But now that we're here, we have a long mashing cutscene, basically. We have some FX cutscenes, we have some mashing. It equates to about 10 minutes, but explaining it is super confusing. So I don't know if we have any donations at all.
I talk about Alzheimer funds. Because yearly, Alzheimer's Fund Science Council and Board of Directors grant scientists and projects around 30 million Swedish krone. They enable trainings for caregivers on the subject of dementia, organize projects, camps, and events for youngsters affected in different ways due to parents or other relatives diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So every donation going straight to your Alzheimer Fund, and every donation matters. Don't forget, you can win prizes. You get a $30 combined donation, you're able to win a ViewSonic Elite monitor, and by a $50 combined donation, you can win a Nintendo Switch, contributed by Kaspersky. Thank you to our sponsors, Twitch, Kaspersky, and ViewSonic.
So, if you've been watching this cutscene, you're probably wondering what's happening, because I am too. But all I know is that Eve is feeling a little threatened right now, so she's gonna call her good friend the Goo to come and protect her. And then there's gonna be a whole lot of chaos that ensues. But it's quite the cutscene. So even though it's kind of long, at least it's pretty entertaining as opposed to most of the times where we're mashing through nonsensical, hokey science dialogue. At least we get some fun sci-fi goo monster action.
Yeah, I like to, this scene really reminds me of like that Shrek movie where the gingerbread man is like really giant and he carries them all on his shoulders. That's what, I don't know why I always get that vibe from the scene. I think that's the second Shrek movie. If anybody knows what I'm talking about.
Are you saying that the goo person looks delicious?
No, it's just like the giant character carrying them through the city kind of vibe.
I never thought about that, but that is actually kind of
yeah, because like his arms break off and they're like, no. Oh yeah, it's a great movie, Shrek 2. Definitely check it out.
Heard it just came out. But now Aya, Daniel, and Maida, or Ayaya, they kind of just like drive around a bit, watching this goo monster in action, and watching the futile efforts of the military trying to stop it. There's also kind of like a complete roundup on the story of where Aya's sister Maya, one of the little girls that we've been following around like the Spectre, and her mother passed away when she was younger. And they all, basically, Melissa, Aya, they all have like organ transplants from this similar person, which is how they all have the sentient mitochondria within them. You know, makes sense. Everyone gets the same organs from the same person. You know, it's just science.
Yeah, the movie and the book are more so. They take place in Japan, and the real quick synopsis of that story is that there is a microbiologist and his wife dies, and he cultures her liver cells in an attempt to like revive her. You know, just riddled with grief and sadness. And in doing so, it kind of triggers this mitochondrial Eve to appear. And similar to what you're seeing here, she also wants to be pregnant and give birth to the ultimate being, which would then like usher in the new era of mitochondrial advanced humanity. Fortunately, we got really cool Aya. Aya is a way cooler character than the husband in the movie, trust me. And we stop it before it's too late, kind of thing. But the reason Maida even comes over here is he's really like the bridge between the two stories, the book and the novel, and this game. He, references that plot from the book multiple times in his dialogue about how he saw it take place in Japan, and he came over here to make sure the same thing wasn't happening, so that he could try to assist in any way if something did take place. So fortunately, he came at a good time.
Because it looks like it's happening, but like 10 times worse. I don't know, it's like everything's exploding.
Yeah, it really is. It's crazy to me. They're just like, all right, there's nobody in here. Just drive these attack helicopters through the middle of the city and just light it up. They're just, just firing weapons in the middle of downtown New York. And this guy right here cracks me up that we're about to see. Take a look at the back of his trousers, dude. It looked like the action was a little too much for him. as he jogs in here with this really strange animation. Looks like he was. Hey, I always crack up at that guy.
Just the running animation alone.
Yeah, he's a funny character, man.
It's not the last time we'll see him. Get him one more time. But yeah, we're still going. When I said this was like 10 minutes, I meant it.
Yeah, this is and it'd be super nice if it was like 10 minutes of cutscenes, so that way as a runner you could kind of take a moment, get a drink, use the restroom or whatever, but it's got like a little cutscene, a little mashing, a little cutscene, a little mashing, so you have to like consciously stay here and I actually just mash through the scenes because I just stop paying attention. I like look at my phone or something and I just sit here and mash the whole time.
Yeah, I've been mashing this whole time.
Yeah, you don't even realize you're doing it because you have to do it so many times off and on that most people just opt to do it the whole time. But you'll notice that the U.S. military is like, hey, you, detective with no flight experience, please go jump into one of these helicopters and see if you can solve this issue. They don't give her even a helmet. Or she doesn't even buckle up. In fact, she takes off her leather jacket and she hops into this helicopter. And she's just immediately an expert at it. Look at her, they're just cruising through the city.
Dude, it's sick. I also like how they acknowledge the fact that none of the other pilots can get close to, like, the goo monster. Like, they acknowledge it, but they're like, yeah, just go for it, dudes. Maybe you're the ones. Why is she so special? You guys go.
Yeah, I know. You know how difficult it would be to convince the military? Like, trust me, I'm the chosen one. They'd be like, all right, this guy's obviously got a lot going on. Please get away from us. We're trying to deal with, like, a threat to national security. But in the game, they're like, trust me, she's the one that can stop this. And then they're like, you know what? I believe her. Put her in a chopper.
Get her a chopper.
Get her a chopper now.
The scene is pretty cool, although it makes, like, 0 sense. There's a lot of action and stuff going on.
It's super easy to like nitpick and make fun of these old games that were made in this era. But as a kid in 1998, you're sitting here watching this with like your eyes as big as dinner plates, just like, oh my god, this is so cool.
You get the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man vibes from Ghostbusters as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, and she opts to she's gonna shoot this missile, and everybody shoots missiles at it, and nothing happens. And they're like, well, if you fire the missile, maybe it'll be different.
I also like how like she hits obviously in the face, but like doesn't have a face. It's like a blob that just decided to have a face. But here we go, back at the Statue of Liberty with actual goo tears now. Definitely wasn't foreshadowing earlier.
Yeah, fun fact, the Statue of Liberty was actually brown when it was created.
I thought you were actually doing it again. I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
We heard this one. Get new statue facts. So now that we've watched that, I'll have an opportunity to save, which I'll take advantage of, because I really like blowing this fight. I really like dying to Eve phase 1. I have enough medicine to probably replay the game and not die again, but you know, I like dying to Eve phase 1.
It happens sometimes, man. It just be that way.
She has a couple of really brutal attacks that hit you for
anybody
like...
who's a big Final Fantasy VII fan, you can get real like Genova vibes from like Eve, and especially like in this final phase that we're seeing her in now. You can see where a lot of the inspiration came from 7, and then Parasite Eve inspired a lot of 8 as well.
For sure. I always mash through, like I'll always skip saving there because it's just ingrained in my brain to not do it, so I really had to just... I told myself when I got to this scene that I was just going to keep hitting X until I saw it pop up.
Yep. And then right here, remember, she's the only person in this helicopter. This multi-million-dollar piece of equipment. She's just like, right, jump. So who knows where it ends up? Like,
Get out of here.
I don't know if it crashes into the city or lands in the bay or what. But regardless, I'd like to believe that optimistically that it has like autopilot or something, and it's just up there flying indefinitely.
It would be really funny if, like, in Parasite Eve 2, there's just some random Easter egg where there's a helicopter just, like, flying in the background for no reason.
Legend has it, it's still up there flying to this day.
You'll notice Eve has a lot more hands than she did before. I don't know why, but she does. Yeah. She's got hair hands. She's got regular hands. She's got feet hands. It's crazy.
She's like the epitome of every square Final Fantasy final boss. It's just like a bunch of shapes just mashed together into like one congealed unit. She's got like a corkscrew tail, like she's got hands for hair. Like it's just like it's like Necron or something. It's just a bunch of crap smashed together, and it's like, dude, that's scary looking.
Yeah,
you know what people are afraid of is strange geometrical shapes. Trust me.
This'll get him. Scared me when I was a kid. I'm like, oh my god, what is this? I was like 12.
Yeah, I actually played this game the first time when I learned to speedrun it, and even as a much older person, I was like, wow, this is much darker than I expected it to be given the time period. But I'll kind of talk about the strat while RJ handles this right here, because this fight can, as he mentioned, sometimes get away from you, be a little annoying. A lot of it comes down to timing. She's going to do that right there, where she grabs.
See, she just literally killed me.
Yeah, it'd be that way. Now the trick is to try to move away from her, and then move towards her to shoot, and then move away from her, move towards her to shoot. And in doing so, hope that the timing kind of aligns with her attack timing. That way you can be moving away from her as she attacks and moving forward as you need to attack. Some of her grabs can do, one grab does a ton of damage. One like confuses you, which just makes your D-pad buttons go the wrong directions, which is super annoying. She has just a whole lot of really, really annoying status effects that she can throw on top of you. Eventually oh man, you weren't even anywhere near that. This is another one, defense down.
Yeah, this is scary now.
Yeah, this fight gets ugly sometimes. I'm gonna
get grabbed again.
Like that.
Well, there we go. Rip.
That actually might have been ideal, because now when you load, have an opportunity to do the fight, maintain your revive, and feel a little bit better about it. So this is all planned, and that really is the great example of just how ugly that fight can go sometimes. It really just goes ugly. But he's still time-wise still doing great. His pace is just really solid, so don't even stress.
Yeah, of all of the places I could have died so far, like to bosses, that's probably one of the shorter distances to recover back to it. Let's just hope it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And we get to watch this cool cutscene again. Look at this.
That's way nicer. Yeah, we get to speculate over what happens to this helicopter once more.
All right. Gosh, that was tough. Because sometimes she'll do that grab attack where she killed me and not even do that attack. And what's funny about it is she was going to hit me one more time. I think she hits 3 times for it. So she killed me with 2.
And you can really see that even though you think you're far enough away, her grabs sometimes the actual hitbox of her arm and where she can grab you from do not align. He was definitely further away than I thought he would be grabbed by that last one, especially. Do you have to rewatch the cutscenes every time you lose? Yes, you do. Which is why sometimes dying, depending on how you're doing your run, or even resetting, can mean you got to watch a lot of scenes and mash a lot of text. But like he mentioned, that was as far as places to die, that's easily the most ideal, because it's the shortest distance from the save to the actual fight.
Yeah, honestly, the only one that might be better is Worms.
Yeah, that one's super quick as well. Yeah, it's just nice that there is the save space here and not before the 10-minute scene. Otherwise, it'd be really annoying.
And like I said, I have enough medicine to beat the game again, so I just really got unlucky with her damage values, that she just did enough to put me right on the edge and then over damage to kill me. Because I definitely didn't go through all of my medicine before dying there.
Oh no, you got sniped both times. And that happens. I mean, that's just because the enemies are starting to do so much damage. It's a little bit harder to rely on your vest to dig you out of trouble by landing in that perfect range that's going to trigger that medicine. For this fight, he's going to open with haste. He's going to try to wait for her to make a decision on what attack she's doing. That way he doesn't get unluckily grabbed. As soon as
I'm definitely going to play it as safe as I can. Stay away from me.
And there you go. And usually once the first grab comes out and you start to rinse and repeat, you can get on a decent time cycle where the pattern kind of lines up and it becomes a lot easier of a fight. There you go. As you see, you just run away.
I couldn't see that one, so I ran a little farther.
Yeah. And you know, the difference of how this fight is going compared to the last is extreme. You know, it's just... I really feel for the people who play this casually and don't have like the shotgun effect, because you're gonna have to individually kill all 3 of those targets that she has. Oof. Yeah, her little peppering of bullets, way less damage potentially. Right there is another really good set of timing. So yeah, as you can see, he's just getting way luckier with and that might have been best case scenario, because having those revives going into like UB3 and stuff is really nice peace of mind to have.
Yeah, I got a little excited on the first attempt. I was like, shoot her to death. But hopefully now we get to show off Liberate in this phase and why it is so good.
Oh, so dope. But yeah, the absolutely to your point, like especially as speedrunners of this game, people who have run it a lot, sometimes you see a fight like starting to bleed time and you're like, oh crap, let me make up for it. And sometimes the best thing to do is to just sit there, wait a couple of turns for the pattern to kind of normalize, but it takes forever. It's like stands for everything that we don't want to have to do, right?
All right, now we could probably cast Liberate. Oh.
Yeah. So he's going to opt to use Liberate here. Everybody enjoy this. This is one of the coolest looking things in the game.
Yeah, so basically we go Super Saiyan and beat up the enemy. Look at this.
Yeah, I always like to compare it to, I don't know if people are anime fans. There's an anime called Claymore, where Claire, the character at the end of the show, turns into a creature that's like part human, part whatever they're called, mutants or beasts or whatever. And she looks just like that, and it's really neat. And in that show, they say that like she's still human enough to where she can turn back. And I like to think that that's kind of how Aya works as well. Yeah, it is very reminiscent to Omni Slash.
But yeah, so look how much easier that fight was. And it actually didn't even go that well because I got slowed, unfortunately, as one of the first attacks, so I ended up missing a shot or two. But just because we have Liberate, I don't know how much damage an actual energy shot would do, but up to this point, each Liberate hit was doing the same amount of damage as an energy shot, basically. And it hit 6 times, I think.
Oh yeah, it does work. And you can use it, like you can be all the way across the screen and it'll just like snap you over there real fast.
Yeah.
It's really sweet.
But that's the end of day 5, so we've got one more day left. We've got the home stretch. Say we don't need to save here. We'll save in the actual base.
Yeah, so we do have a little bit of mashing and story right here while he preps this. So I think this might be a little bit of a decent opportunity for you to, any announcements or donations or whatever you'd like to make.
Yeah, sure. We got a $50 donation from Fupoy UYT. I hope I didn't butcher that name too hard.
Sounded perfect.
And a $20 donation from Anonymous saying Godspeed.
Thank you very much.
So, yeah, thanks for the $70. They really come in handy. We're getting kind of close to the 10K. Only 817 missing.
Yeah. We could do it. If everybody in chat does a $5 train, we can make some big numbers happen for the boss rush at the end here.
Oh, heck yeah.
So if you can find it in your hearts, and if you can have the means, go for it.
Yeah, if RJ, no pressure, makes it through this day 6 without using his revive, I'll throw 100 down myself.
Oh,
chat will have to join me. Yeah, fortunately, this guy here gives you some really good medicines that you can take advantage of in a situation like this where we're in a marathon, and it doesn't hurt to spend a little bit of extra time to get that added security. That's really nice.
Yeah, I have plenty of 3 med 3s. I'm just going to go grab 2 med 4s. I think 2 med 4s should be enough to carry you through it in a normal run. So we have probably like 6. And we have plenty of ammo. I think I had like 180 bullets plus what was in the clip.
Oh yeah, that's a stupid amount. That's a lot of ammo. Yeah, generally like anything more than like 70 or 80 is probably enough to make it through like the last section of the game. We used to be like the rule of thumb was about 100, but we also used to use an SMG that fired 4 times for the final day. Like we would continue to use the micro Uzi. So like the amount of ammunition you go through is significantly less. So having 180 or whatever, he could do these fights probably 10 times and still be fine.
And you would think that since it's the final boss that it would be pretty tough, but we have a lot of good strats for these fights that basically trivialize every phase besides 3. And even 3 is not so bad if you get some good attack patterns. But here, this scene's pretty wacky. Get your baby rages in chat.
Yeah, what you're going to see here is basically the sound of this child crying and then some significant explosions, which is really how I like to imagine every day of working at Chuck E. Cheese probably is.
So that's the ultimate being that we're going to be fighting. Oh, man. What a crazy... In some ways, I find that crazier than the Eve we just fought.
Yeah, this is a really creeping looking little thing here. He just jumps on board the ship, and then it's like, let's throw hands. And I'm like, wow, dude, there's really like there's no gray area. It's immediate combat time.
It really is. He's just like floating there, and she whips her gun out. She's like, I'm gonna shoot you, and you're shooting a floating baby with a tail. And right here, Mate is trying to give us something that, you know, if he could have, probably would make this whole thing a lot easier. But we will get it eventually.
It's funny because, like, I think story-wise, like, everybody's like, no, it's not important. Listen, we got to figure this out. And he makes a couple of different attempts to give it to us. And I like to think how easy this section would be if we just were like, all right, yeah, you know what? Fine, let me have it.
That would have been like a cool New Game Plus concept idea to like let him give it to you. Because I mean, in New Game Plus, you're broken already, so why not just go full in?
That's basically what New Game Plus is. We pretty much one-shot just everything. In this fight, you're going to see RJ implement pretty much the similar strat of using one of his turns to fire and one of his turns to haste. Now this baby, he does like a little AoE attack. You're going to see RJ pretty much stand on top of him and gun him down. Now, there is one ability he'll use where he drops to the ground. He's
going to use it, like, right here.
Yeah, he'll drop to the ground.
Oh, he got me?
No dodge. And it reduces you to 1 HP. Now, obviously, our medicine will heal us, but if you stand on top of him and take contact damage as that animation goes off, it'll sometimes let you skip taking that attack. But, you know, worst case scenario, you take it, medicine 4 pops, you go about your day. That was a pretty clean fight.
Yeah. Unfortunate. I thought I had it. But we have more than enough medicines. Phase 2.
Gonna move into the second phase now. This is Ultimate Being 2, as we like to call him, and it's technically 2 different parts. The strategy that RJ is going to use here is he's going to wait for it to split and then attempt to use Liberate. And ideally, if 4 of the 7 Liberate hits, yeah, that was kind of sucky. If 4 of the 7 attacks hit the body on the floor, the fight's over. If any less than that, it'll probably have to shoot it a couple more times. So it's a little RNG.
I've had all 6 hit the flying one multiple times, but there was the 4th hit, so we should be good. Sometimes it might take an extra shot, but we actually had a pretty solid crits on him.
Yeah, that was
before Liberate.
The old strategy of this fight, you used to have to chase him in circles, and it was a real pain in the rear because it became super dangerous. That fight can sometimes, you know, the damage can really add up on you. And instead, we moved the difficulty more to this next third fight with this newer strategy, which is what RJ just did. But even this fight's not super difficult. This guy just... there's a lot of movement and stuff involved in kind of minimizing the risk in this encounter. Ultimate being 3. As you can see, the baby is progressively getting older very rapidly. And as he does, he gets a little bit beefier as well.
Oh, you jerk.
that was a debate, man.
That was a huge debate.
So
but basically what I'm going to do here is shoot him, I think, for 5 to 7 turns. More like 7. And then you hopefully have Liberate again.
Yeah, and he's going to jump to random corners, and the best way to... Dang, he debated you again.
Jeez.
The best way to dodge the damage from those is to stand in his shadow directly underneath him. Oh, that's nice. So sometimes you just want to hope that, like, he doesn't go to the furthest away corner, otherwise you're having to... Oh, nice. Dang, he made up for it.
I think I'm going to shoot him one more time. And
yeah, might as well.
Here we go. Hopefully that is enough. I kind of lost count, I'm not going to lie, because he was jumping all over the place, but that should be enough. And if it's not, he's going to be like one shot.
Yeah, so the strategy more or less in that fight is to just chase him around, wait till you have full PE, liberate again, and you should have done enough damage at that point to be able to kill him. So a little less risky than than it seems to be. It's definitely less risky than Ultimate being 2. That fight is, I think, the hardest in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely the scariest. The attacks come out really quick. And
yes,
they hit
and
really hard.
If you're doing the old route where you got to chase them in circles, then it's like you got to really be careful, dude. I actually, for the life of me, if you asked me to do that old route strategy right now, I probably couldn't do it. It was so stressful.
So this phase, we're gonna actually pull out that gun we got in the museum.
Yeah, so as RJ equips this, we're going to hope that it has a random chance to fire an additional bullets. We're going to hope that it fires enough.
Hell yeah, look at that.
It did! Single turn. Worst case scenario, he gets unlucky and it takes 2 turns. But he actually just ended that phase in a single turn by switching to that gun he picked up all the way back in the museum in that security room. And now you're going to get to see one of the coolest scenes.
This is anime. This is peak anime right here. I just one turn this thing, but looks like I'm struggling. But Daniel's coming, don't worry. This is good plot armor. On fire, falling out of a helicopter. Throws bullets at us perfectly.
Yeah, straight Aaron Rodgers that. And then keep in mind, he doesn't even scorch his suit. My man, his drip he's literally so moist from his drip that it doesn't even scorch. That's how legendary he is.
All right, so we procced medicine. We're gonna be okay. One more turn, and then we go into the most chaotic, non-chaotic part of the run. But I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because I actually blew this part not too long ago. So I'll let Palmer kind of talk us out. But we're in the home stretch. We got a little chase scene here, and I'll let Palmer go from there.
Yeah. So I'm actually probably going to end up being quiet as well, just because I have secondhand nervousness for you over here, just because it is a very nerve-wracking scene. You have to, if you at any point move the wrong direction or go to a previous screen and the ultimate being catches up to you, which he will, it's guaranteed if you go the wrong way or to the screen you were just on, you lose the whole run. You have to start all over. You have to load a save. So we're going to let RJ have his moment of concentration here as he attempts to escape.
time is coming up here on this screen when it fades to black. And ready now. So that's it.
Nice, man. Well done. Well done. Yeah. Anybody in chat, trust me, it's way more nerve-wracking than it looks because it's very easy to hold the wrong direction when you're loading a screen and accidentally run back to the last screen and you lose the whole run. You have to do all basics over. So RJ, well done, man. Great run. Significantly underestimate you. Absolutely terrific, man. Great job.
What was the time?
2:54:09.
Oh, nice. Good run.
Yeah. Amazing run, man.
Oh my goodness. Well, quick sign off. Thank you, Palmer, for hanging out with me through this run. Put my nerves at ease pretty easily, having somebody who just knows the game as well as you do. Thank you so much for your fighting for your donation reading and hosting. Thank you so much, ESA, for letting me run this game here. It's an amazing game that is really, really great to show off. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for your amazing run and Palmer for the amazing commentary. It was pretty fun listening to you guys. Kind of missed the Baby Shark, though.
Oh, I forgot about Baby Shark. No! Oh, well, another time.
And last but not least, we get 2 more donations. From Patrick, a $27 donation with no comment. And from the boys, a $5 donation just saying, choo choo.
Nice. And I had decided before, but I'm going to look it up, find the exact number, but for every time the word mitochondria is mentioned in this game, I will donate $1. So I got to figure it out first, but you can expect that coming over from me after the run.
That's amazing.
In the spirit of the story that all anybody ever knows is mitochondria. So let's make it impactful.
And notice again, Daniel's suit, squeaky clean, not a mark on it.
But thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, and after the intermission, we got Fruit MacGuffin taking over with Attack on Titan 2, the final battle.
Nice. That's going to be awesome.
So, stay here.